us for the program.
The hotline is powered by Lanahaw Nurseries, rooted in quality, unmatched value. This edition of Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone is proudly presented by Union Bank and Trust. The program starts now.
KOZN. Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO. Don't miss a moment, they'll give you your fix. They're on every day from 2 until 6. Spend your afternoons with John, Josh, and Nick. John, Josh, and Nick. They'll show you what sports talk really is.
Jack, since we last talked 5 minutes ago, we've received over $100 in donations to the GoFundMe page.
Yes, let's go. Keep it coming.
Indeed. We will explain it all coming up now.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO.
Welcome in. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on this Tuesday. 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, the 1620 The Zone app, and 1620 The Zone TV. You can find that on YouTube. Search it, subscribe to it. We go up like multiple times a week, including with our friend Jack Mitchell, each and every Monday when he does join us. We also do the movie club and a whole lot more. And today, the entire edition of Unsportsmanlike Conduct will be up there because we have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about that has unfolded over the last 24 hours. Just to set everything up, no Michael Bruns today. He had some stuff going on, so he will not be joining us in the 3 o'clock hour. We will have Steve Sipple. He couldn't join us yesterday. He'll be on at 4:45. But also today at 4:15, Todd Munson, who is really the reason why we're up on 1620 The Zone TV today. He, of course, wrote the obituary that has made the rounds all across the internet over the last few days. And so we will talk to Todd about the passing of his father and then the cause that I know we're about to talk about coming up in a few minutes. Once again, that's the lineup powered by the Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Garden. You can get in touch with us all show long, 402-951-1620. That is the Lanahaw Nurseries hotline, 402-951-1620. You can also hit us up into the Equitable Bank inbox, Josh at 1620thezone.com, or on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. I am at Josh Tweederson. Of course, there is at USC 1620. He is at Jack Mitchell LNK and at Grim&Nim if you would like to hit up Nick. Those are all the ways to get in touch with us. And so that's what's on tap. All right, Jack. I guess we just got to begin right with the last 24 hours. It has been absolutely crazy. Do we need to go back and kind of set up what happened over the weekend and kind of expand it from there?
I think you do, because I've got people texting me, asking me, and it's a long story, but I saw your tweet whenever it happened. Maybe you should just tell everybody how you discovered it, the obituary, and then that original tweet, which set this whole thing into motion.
Yeah, so I stumbled upon an obituary over the weekend, and I want to make sure I get the paper correct for where it was actually posted.
Hastings, right?
Hastings Tribune. So I stumbled upon this, and I thought, wow, that was really funny because in the second paragraph it says, in lieu of flowers, please place an irresponsibly large wager on Nebraska beating Iowa. So that was the first thing that I saw, and I said, okay, that's funny. Let me click into this and just read it because I wanted to take a nice clean screenshot because I figured that people would get a kick out of it. Well, then the next paragraph after that mentioned this season, the grim reality of the Nebraska Cornhuskers finishing yet another season with a losing record proved to be too much to bear for Milton Andrew Munson, who decided he'd seen enough of this world during the team's recent bye week. The Huskers may not have sent him into the afterlife with a victory, but at least they didn't lose. And sometimes that's the best you can hope for. And so this was an obituary for Nebraska resident Milton Andrew Munson Jr. He passed away last week, a week ago today, actually, at the age of 73 in Grand Island. So I thought, wow, that's funny. This has been a rough season for all of us. Why not have a little sense of humor with your passing? Very well done. And so I just sent it off, thinking, hey, people around here will laugh at it, and then, we'll kind of move on. Much to my surprise, it started making the rounds nationally. The first time, Jack, that I realized, wow, this has some legs maybe beyond just our sphere of Husker fans and media, is when Spencer Hall retweeted it, because he has north of 100,000 followers. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Max Olson, friend of the program, he's been on many times. He actually went to school with me at UNL. He covers college football at large for The Athletic. He lives in Lincoln. He retweeted it that night. And then it started kind of making the rounds through some of the Texas people. Longhorn reporters, yada, yada, yada. Well, then yesterday, Dan Katz, Big Cat, he retweeted it, and friend of the program as well. And so this thing is blown up. I've never had a tweet with so many impressions and all that. And so you had an idea yesterday. You tweeted at me yesterday because we planned, of course, doing the show. Hey, why don't we try to crowdfund? Why don't we try to place a large bet on Nebraska to beat Iowa? So literally yesterday, as we're going off the air, I wanted to make sure I mentioned it just so we could start the conversation. And I said, hey, go to my Venmo, send me some money. We will keep track of this. I will take screenshots just to make sure I'm being as above board as possible. I want people to know, I am not keeping any of this money. Let's bet it all on Nebraska. And I'm thinking, oh, that'd be really cool if we got a few $100s. By the time that I got home, it was north of 300 already. By the time that I'm sitting down for dinner, it's getting close to 1,000. I wake up this morning, it's near $4,000. And so it's like, okay, well, we should probably figure out some tax things because I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, okay, so here's the funny. So you're texting me, and I suggested we should do this because we were kind of planning for the show anyway, and we're like, yeah, that'd be fun. And what we thought was a bunch of people will give $10, right? And we'll have. And I said I'd put 100 in, and we'd do a multiple $100 bet. Right. Yep. And that would just kind of be a thing. And then you texted me, you was like, do you want to do it on your Venmo? Yeah. I was like, no. I was like, no, for multiple reasons. And I was like, I think maybe we should look for a third party site or something like that. And before I even get that message to you or talk about it, you've got yours set up and you've already got hundreds of dollars in the thing. And so, and so then by the time the show is over, you keep texting me. I was like, man, I was like, maybe we shouldn't have done this in your Venmo, because here I am thinking about is this going to be income to you? And if we win, are you going to have to fill out a 1099 form and all of these things? And so that's where we entered it last night. Okay.
Yes.
So we're figuring that out. And then I said, you know what? We should also, check with the family if this thing is going to get really big. And I don't want to do anything that would bother them or be hard for them or anything like that. So,
and at that time, if I remember right, I think I said to you, I guess, so what do we do? Do we contact the paper? How should we go about this? Well, then randomly we get a tweet from Todd Munson, who is the guest that's going to join us in a couple of hours. And he tweeted at us last night, ha, this is incredible and the best thank you. Flying back to the homeland tomorrow for the old man's memorial, but should be landing in Omaha around 3:00. Would be happy to call into the show if you like. So then you and I started messaging with him. Obviously, as he said there, loved the idea, said a bunch more along those lines in our DMs. And so he was all in. And so then our thought was, okay, does he want to gamble all of this away? Or would he want to do something else? Would he want to gamble some of it, and then we could donate, the rest of it, so there's at least an auto donation somewhere? So we basically said, what do you want to do? He talked to his other brother, the two brothers that ended up writing the obituary together. And so Todd talked to his other brother, and they came to the idea of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Central Nebraska. And so we'll talk about that with him in the 4:00 hour and why he ultimately decided to do that. And so then we're like, okay, so at least we know for sure we are donating it. At that time, we were like, yeah, we'll announce it on the radio. But that's suddenly this morning, and as you mentioned, I'm starting to get very concerned about the taxation of this and getting in trouble. And so that was when, and maybe we shouldn't be saying this all in the air, but who cares? That's when I created the GoFundMe. And so essentially I took most of the money out and I put it into the Venmo. And so right now there is over $4,000 that is for sure going to Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
That's just an account. That GoFundMe goes directly to Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Yes.
in central Nebraska. But we also said, a part of the memorial was putting the wager down on Nebraska.
Correct.
And so we are still doing that. And in talking with the family, we mutually decided, okay, we'll leave $1,000 out for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not an insignificant wager
No,
at that point. And the proceeds for that will also go when it's a win. Okay.
When it's a win, not if.
You heard me.
Don't let us down, Scott Frost, Logan Smothers, etc.
Listen, how can it not happen now? Why would I even say that? But
I was going to say,
that's and so that's what we kind of decided mutually. And I know there's people who are saying, "Hey, why don't you donate at all?" Because not as many people would have given money. Is the reason why. And people saying, "B, why don't you gamble at all?" And there are reasons for that too. Number one, the family's wishes. And I think we can do both parts of it with this whole thing. If you give to the GoFundMe, you are part of the bet. Okay. Yep. Exactly. You are part of the significant bet. And one thing I do want to say, Josh, and you may have something to say on this too. We got a note from someone who listens, who has a history of gambling addiction, and asked us to be mindful of that. And I think that was a very that's been one thing that hasn't been a problem for me, that I know it has for I have my own issues.
Sure.
But I thought that was a good point. And I think we all saw the irresponsible bet thing as kind of funny, tongue in cheek, because I kind of look at every bet that I make as irresponsible.
Sure. Well, hey, to be serious, I think it was my girlfriend last night who said, I mean, if we're being honest, a $5 bet on Nebraska to beat Iowa is irresponsible given how they played this year. So
that's kind of how I read that, but he read it from another lens.
Definitely understandable.
And it made sense. And so here's the thing that we are doing. You don't have to make an irresponsible bet. Don't make an irresponsible bet. You can give $10 to the GoFundMe and you are in, right? Mm-hmm. On the bet that we're making. You're a part of our group. We're making a significant bet, but you're also making a contribution to a good cause. So we are preventing people from having to make individual irresponsible bets by combining our powers and making one large one, having fun with it, right? Yes. And hopefully doing some good with it, and hopefully getting the United States of America behind the Nebraska Cornhuskers, behind a national audience on Black Friday.
There you go. So if you head to at Josh Tweederson, at Jack Mitchell LNK, we've tweeted out a bunch of the links over the last 24 hours. The one I guess that you need to know right now, if you just would like to go straight to the source, is GoFundMe.com/F/4Milt. And we included a large portion of the obituary there, a link to the obituary there, and then where the proceeds will be going. And as Jack mentioned a couple minutes ago, these are going directly to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska. So I didn't even have to put in any of my information. It is going right to them.
Right.
Boom. No worries. I would like, if you can, because I'm still getting the Venmos, I would like for you to not send me any more into the Venmo. But I know that I can't stop people from doing that because they see the beginning of the thread and they're like, okay, cool. Here is some money. What we would like for you to do, if you want to be involved with the gambling component of this, we would like for you to place a wager, send us a screenshot, and then say, hey, at the end, if they win, I'm going to take the winnings and I'm going to, donate it to the GoFundMe. That's what we would like you to do, and then don't have to worry about my Venmo account anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And make a responsible wager. Or if you've already made one for Milt and you want to say, you know what, I'm gonna pledge that if this is a winner, I'm throwing that in the GoFundMe. And then when we start getting those, I'm hoping we're going to start getting some of those, Josh. Yeah, we're gonna keep a running tally of how much is committed in addition to that $1,000 that we're letting ride on Nebraska and Iowa. Now we need to talk. Now it's time though to talk strategy. Okay. Because and this probably is the final call, I think, for Todd too, but I'll be interested in what the listeners say. What is the line situation right now? And maybe we can get to this at a later segment. What's the line situation right now? What's the money line situation right now? How do we navigate that?
All right. Well, when we return, then we will take a look at that and we will figure out what we are going to do there. The line has moved a lot, and I did get a message from Kyle. Are the program and friends of the program going to move this line? I missed out on +4 Iowa. Maybe it comes back around. Can you imagine if we were the ones who moved who moved the line. Now, I'm guessing that will not happen because we're not sharps and nobody knows who we are. So when we actually gamble on it, nothing's going to happen. But
speak for yourself.
Yeah, I should. I will only speak for myself. I will not speak for you, Jack Mitchell. Jack Mitchell joining us today on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Don't forget about this week's Zone Deal. It is to Domaha, Omaha's gourmet edible cookie dough store, where you can dough it your way. You can get $50 in vouchers for only $25. It goes on sale on Friday morning at 9 a.m. What a heck of a Zone Deal on this Black Friday at 1620thezone.com. All right, so more reaction, more response. When we come back, we will look at the updated line and a whole lot more. Plus, Jack, I will say that I am a tad worried about one thing in particular with this great thing that we are doing, and it's actually not in relation to Nebraska winning or losing. And so I will explain that. I will explain that for you when we return. Can't wait to have our conversation, though, with Todd Munson. He's going to join us in about an hour and 45 minutes in the 4 o'clock hour. Steve Sipple will join us today in the happy hour as well, and plenty of room for you at 402-951-1620, Josh at 1620thezone.com, or the variety of Twitter accounts that we have. He's Jack Mitchell filling today for John Bishop. I'm Josh Peterson. Nick Grimm producing. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone.
NFL Monday Night Football plays here on 1620 The Zone.
A DUI is everything you didn't prepare for. You did not save for it. You did not train for it. You did not go to school for it. You did not raise your family or buy a house or get a job for it. It is not your life goal or a dream come true. You have planned for everything in your life. You did not plan for a DUI. Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
We are courtside, KP here with more satisfied and happy John Higgins Weather Guard customers.
Number one, it was reputation. We found ourselves with a hailstorm roof damage and needed to figure out what we were going to do to remedy it. I've seen a lot of John Higgins around town and had him do the work for us, and we were very satisfied.
Make the right call, fans. America's leading installer of Da Vinci roofs and roofs of all styles. The rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard, providing the highest level of customer service with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau.
Roof of Greece.
Enterprise Car Sales in Omaha makes buying a vehicle easy. Enterprise Car Sales has a large selection of vehicles with thousands to choose from in their nationwide inventory. Every vehicle is clearly marked with no haggle pricing. Their team is available online and at their dealership, ready to help you find the right vehicle. Come experience the Enterprise Car Sales difference. Click enterprisecarsales.com to schedule your test drive and start your vehicle purchase, or visit the Enterprise Car Sales location off 180th and West Dodge Road.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
It pays to parlay pro football with Elite Sportsbook. Receive a 50% bet match up to $25 every Sunday in November on your first 3 or more leg pro football parlay. That's an easy $100 in free bets up for grabs in November. Plus, new signups can take advantage of their first bet being risk-free up to $500. Download the app today and play your game with Elite Sportsbook. Valid only in Iowa. Must be 21. Gambling a problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
The Zone's hydration station is social in Elkhorn at 192nd and Pacific, Omaha's newest and best football party, with easy-to-drink specialty cocktails, mimosa towers, and 192-ounce mules. Come experience social, 192nd and Pacific, hydrating the Zone in Omaha this football season.
Looking for a pre-Thanksgiving event?
Test.
The community at the same time?
Test 1, 2.
It's now for Blue Collar Boxing at the Ralston Arena on Wednesday, November 24th. Blue Collar Boxing features local labor union members facing off in the ring, with proceeds benefiting United Way of the Midlands and the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education. Blue Collar Boxing is hosted by the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, with support from United Way of the Midlands.
You're listening to Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson on 1620 The Zone.
Welcome back to Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Also streaming today live on 1620 The Zone TV alongside virtually. Jack Mitchell, I'm Josh Peterson. Nick Grimm producing the program this afternoon. We'll be joined by Steve Sipple a little bit later on, and Todd Munson as well, the one of the writers of the obituary that has been making the rounds over the last few days for Milton Andrew Munson, who passed away a week ago today in Grand Island at the age of 73. All right, so a couple of things for you there, Jack. The first thing that I said is I'm worried about one thing in particular, and here's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
What we're doing is very kind. It's very nice. And I've gained followers from it, which is very cool. But I have to imagine that all these people are like, wow, another positive Husker fan that is now in my life. What's going to happen when these people realize that I've wanted Scott Frost fired for months? What's going to happen? What's going to happen when they realize, wait, this guy said Scott Frost is a bad football coach in September? I'm worried.
This is why you've got me on the team today. We got a good cop, bad cop thing. And I obviously have been the one on the side of reason with this whole thing. I've not been the shock jock. And so, Josh, if that becomes a problem, I'm glad to become the face of this, and you can kind of take a side role with this whole thing. But if that's an issue, I'm prepared to be the sole face of the Giants' success that Fort Milt is.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy that I have one positive boy around us while I am the negative boy. The positive boys. The positive boys. Jack Mitchell is the positive boy today.
It's not positive again, by the way. Just to clarify for the bazillionth time, it's the lesser of two negatives right now. Nothing is positive. Nothing.
Jack would rather lose with Scott Frost than lose with somebody else. That's what he's saying.
I mean, I guess if you were truly giving me those choices, I guess. Not by much, but yeah.
It's so funny when we confirmed that you were going to be the fill-in today, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I thought, okay, we were going to have our knockdown, drag-out fight about Scott Frost. And instead, now we're just taking donations for an awesome cause. So
look it. Right. Well, you know what we're probably doing, Josh? Probably against, against your better judgment, but we are probably, again, getting support centralized for Nebraska, bringing the nation together for Nebraska, the team, that kind of energy, that kind of support is going to push them ahead, make some extra special teams plays, right? Avoid a few turnovers, going to get the win and get the momentum going, right, for the program. Thanks to, I mean, that's a great story in itself, Josh. The guy who wanted Scott Frost fired saved his job. Amazing.
It's true. It's true. And you know what? In all seriousness, one of the things that I have thought about a lot over the last 24 hours is like, it's been a tough season for, I mean, like literally everybody, whether you're a fan of the program, whether you cover the program, whether you're inside the program, it's been hard. This has not been an enjoyable season. Nebraska's sitting at 3-8, potentially staring at 3-9. And oh, by the way, the 4-year starting quarterback for the Huskers is out. And I know at some point we're going to talk about that today as well. But I realized last night, like how cool this is to maybe finish the season on a true high note, with, in all seriousness, a lot of positivity and a lot of support from around the state. And, it's funny, I got an email here from John. It says, how are you surprised about how many people have given money to your idea? You know how Nebraska fans are when it comes to anything online involving the team. They get crazy. And that's true. But man, John, when I literally get home after my 5-minute drive, not even 5-minute drive, I walk into my apartment and I'm looking at it and there are hundreds of dollars already in the account. It's at $1,000 basically by dinner time. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised at how quickly it took off.
Josh, we miss that. I talk about this all the time. This fan base, and I think especially some of the older members of this fan base, miss that shared camaraderie that is just enjoying success and just pulling together on this thing instead of fighting. I talk about it ad nauseum all the time.
You really do.
You know that with that whole thing. And I think that's a huge part of it. That, and then, and you know what, I'll be honest, Josh, I think the other thing that made this blow up a little bit is because I think there are a ton of people that have lost people in their lives who they associate Husker sports with, 100%. Without a doubt. I know I'm that way. I know I can already think of people who have said that, and it always everything to do with it still feels like a little bit of a tribute or a memory with that person. And I think that resonated. And I think that's part of the reason people are saying, you know what, for Milt and for, my dad or my brother or my grandma or whoever it is that I had these kind of memories of and memories with. And I think that's probably the combination of those things are probably what made it blew up.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And so right now, and once again, Todd Munson, he will join us a little bit later in the show, about an hour and a half from now. The current line sits at Nebraska plus 1.5. I'm looking at FanDuel, minus 112 is what you would have to lay for the Huskers. And on the money line, so Nebraska to win this game outright is plus 100. Before we discuss maybe what we're going to do, I do want to once again acknowledge Nebraska is 3-8. Iowa is 9-2, and the 3-8 team is not even a field goal underdog. And in fact, they were a favorite when the line was originally released. And now without their senior 4-year starting quarterback, they are only a 1.5 point dog. If we saw this line, Jack, and it was not for the team that we cover, the team we root for, if it was just a random game, let's say,
Right.
I'm trying to think of an equivalent. We'd be like, wait, what the hell? The 9-2 team is not even a field goal underdog. We'd say that line is stinky. I'm obviously going to take the 3-8 team to win, if not to cover. And so I almost feel like, I'll be honest, man, I feel like this is the correct bet to do anyway.
Right. I mean, I know you listen to like Stanford Steve and the Bear. Like I like to listen. I like to listen to them too, and they talk about lines a lot. And they will always see lines that feel too good to be true.
Yep.
Right. And then and what do they say when that happens? They're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I want no part of that thing. If it makes no sense, Vegas is probably right on those sorts of things. I'm going to guess that was this line for a whole lot of people, and probably still is this week.
Yeah. What do you think we should do? We're going to talk to Todd about it. What do you think we should do? Do you go straight money line?
I think you have to. I'm disappointed there's not a little bit more of a payout on the money line.
Me too.
But here's the thing: is if it stays 1.5, okay? That's what it's. Do you really want to win the money with an Iowa 1 point win? Like, I mean,
that's pretty depressing. Another 1-score loss for Nebraska, but it pays out at least. That sounds.
But that pays out at what? But how much less does that pay out though?
It would pay out a tad bit less. So let's just say kind of round numbers. So if you bet $100 at minus 112, I think the payout would probably be like $89. Or if you bet $100 at plus 100, it's even odds, so you get $100 back.
No, well that piles up if it's
$1,000, it definitely piles up. And by the way, it's not at 1,000; it's at $12,000 or $1,228.95.
I don't want to be having to do any math in the final minutes of that game. Okay.
Yeah. You just want to root for Nebraska to win.
Yes, that's
you don't want to cheer. Oh, Iowa wins by a point. And Jack Mitchell's like, yeah, this is great.
Right. I just no. That's not. It's almost non-negotiable to me. Not that I'm the one who makes the final decision, but if I were, it would be absolute money line. No question about it.
Patrick says almost dropped $10,000 on the money line yesterday before the Adrian Martinez announcement. Wow. Well, hey, Patrick, feel free to go to the GoFundMe and donate, as much of the 10 grand as you would like. That would be very nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. That'd be very nice. All right. When we return, Jack, I did want to ask a question about Adrian Martinez and the news because I'd written down a topic. I actually wrote this down last week ahead of you being on today. I created my prep sheet like a week early. And it was the question I was going to ask you is, do you want this to be Adrian's last game at Nebraska? Well, I had to alter it. And now is, did you want Adrian's last game in Nebraska to be on Friday? But in all seriousness, I wanted to talk about this news. Steve Sipple had something interesting in his column yesterday that makes me think this is probably the end. And it's an end no matter what you think about Adrian Martinez, positively or negatively. I hate that there is it's over. It's over, and we didn't know it was over at the time of the Wisconsin game. So I wanted to unpack some of that with you when we return. Also, speaking of Sipple, he'll join us in the happy hour today at 4:45. And once again, in an hour and a half, Todd Munson, the writer of the obituary that has been making the rounds over the last couple of days for Milton Andrew Munson, who passed away a week ago today. He'll join us at 4:15 as well, and we can talk a whole lot more about this, the GoFundMe, and I guess really the steps moving forward, including a bet on Nebraska, either on the money line or against the spread. But I'm with Jack. I think we go straight money line.
Yep.
GBR. All right. He's Jack Mitchell. I'm Josh Peterson. More to come on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
From farm to city, Sid Dillon Chevrolet has your next vehicle covered. Shop our 4 area Chevy dealerships or visit us at SidDillonChevy.com.
You are what drives us, Sid Dillon.
Chevy, find new roads.
When it comes to the exterior of your home, you can count on Carp's Complete Home Exteriors. From siding to roofing to gutters, area homeowners trust Carp's to do the job right. Local, experienced, professional, trusted. CarpsOmaha.com.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
We are courtside KP here with more satisfied and happy John Higgins Weather Guard customers. Tell us, what made you choose the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard for your new roof?
John Higgins Weather Guard didn't try to upsell us on anything. They repaired our roof, they did a great job, and they followed up.
Make the right call, fans. America's leading installer of Da Vinci roofs and roofs of all styles. The rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard, providing the highest level of customer service with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau.
Roof. The end of riding season is never a good time, but it is a great time to trade in and trade up or sell it outright. Les Hills Harley-Davidson is selling, trading, and buying bikes right now. Sell your Harley-Davidson today. Les Hills Harley-Davidson. Rise up and ride on.
At Ronald McDonald House Charities in Omaha, we know that it's the little things that provide the most comfort. A hot cup of coffee in the morning or the smell of clean laundry. Just like you, our families appreciate those little things in our house. When families travel to Omaha for their child's medical care, they need those little things to get through it. They find them at Ronald McDonald House Charities in Omaha, where the little things make the biggest difference. Learn more about those little things and how you can help at rmhcomaha.org.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
Katie was recently told by a competitor that her transmission needed to be replaced. She thought the cost seemed a little too high, so she called us. We towed it from that shop and verified the transmission was in fact bad. We did the job and saved her over $1,500. Sometimes a second opinion can save you a lot of money. Don't overpay. Call Omaha Transmission.
Omaha Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
Welcome back. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. We're also broadcasting live right now on 1620 The Zone TV. A couple of responses, Jack, before we talk about Adrian Martinez. From the grave, Mike Stibb says, didn't the obit say place an irresponsible wager on Nebraska to beat Iowa, not to cover against Iowa? And sure enough, it did.
That's a good point.
It's a very good point on a large wager on Nebraska beating Iowa. That's what it said. I just looked at it again. So, yes, Stibbs is right. Also, Scott says if you look at the obituary, it asks to put money on the Huskers for the win. The money line is the play, in my opinion.
Now, that's
for Milt.
So here is the bizarre thing about that. I agree, by the way, obviously. I think they did a good job going to the original text. I can appreciate that as a former attorney, going back to the original text to be an originalist there with the obituary. But here's my thing. This actually potentially became a much more profitable situation for our beneficiary here, Big Brothers Big Sister in Central Nebraska, after the Adrian Martinez injury.
That's true.
Think about the money line you would have been getting less than your $1,000 or your $100 back if it were a 4.5 point Nebraska favorite. Now that's listen, I'm not everything happens for a reason guy, but
there you
I
go.
don't know.
Great point, Jack.
A lot is lining up. And there's no way I can jinx anything anymore because everything's already been jinxed. Everything's already terrible. So don't tell me I'm jinxing everything. Everything's lining up. I feel like it's divine providence at this point.
I think that you're spot on. Yeah, I don't have what the juice would have been, but I'm guessing at a -4, Nebraska was a 4-point favorite originally, probably in like the -140, -150. So you have to lay $1.40 to win $1. And now, if we did it literally right at this instance, $1 would pay back $1. So it's 1-to-1 odds, which is very, very nice. So you're right, man. I'm with you. I'm not a everything happens for a reason guy, but very, very interesting.
Gotta wonder. Maybe I'll change after this.
And don't forget, please do place your wagers and send us screenshots or send us pictures of your tickets.
Do you have any yet? Do you have none on the
No, because people just keep sending me money on Venmo. It's now up to $1,248.95.
Oh, okay.
Stop it, people.
Hold on, but that still has the 1,000 in that were
So ever since I moved $4,000 over to to the GoFundMe, I've still gained $250.
What are the chances that the FBI breaks into your studios at some point before the show's over?
I think very little, right? This is peanuts. And I'll just donate it again to GoFundMe because I did find out from JD.
Josh, these are very suspicious looking transfers. I don't know. Is this some kind of an Ozark thing you have going on here?
Don't say that, Jack. Don't say that. This is like saying bomb on an airplane. You can't say bomb on. You can't say money laundering on the radio.
You can see
it
all.
Bomb on an airplane.
You can see you'll be able to see every. It is all documented through tweets, and so you can go to the GoFundMe and
it's all there.
Josh is putting it on, but quit Venmoing, Josh.
Yeah, seriously, stop Venmo. See, but the thing is, I asked you, I said, should I delete the Venmo tweets? Mainly because I just wanted people to stop Venmoing me. Because what's happening is randos are just stumbling upon it. It's like, oh, wow, that's really fun.
Okay, maybe you should delete it.
They're not reading the rest of the thread.
Maybe you should delete it. Maybe I was wrong. I mean, I'm not always
I did find out from a listener, from JD, as one person can donate up to $11,000 without it being, affecting me tax wise. So I still I got $7,000 to work with. I do need to go up and add the number of people that have donated. I'm going to have to count at some point, and just remember that it's, I'm scrolling right now. It is ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of people that have donated over the last, not even 24 hours. Yeah.
We still got, by the way, we still have 3 days until the game?
Game's not until Friday. And that's the other thing, by the way, that we'll have to figure out with Todd when he joins us in a little over an hour. When are we placing this bet? And who is doing it? How are we doing this? Where are we doing this? We got to figure out all that stuff as well. So that's coming up later on.
That's a good question, too.
Yep, certainly is. Speaking of this game, Adrian Martinez, we learned yesterday, he is out. He will not be playing. And his career now, it could be over at Nebraska. 14-24 as the starting quarterback for the Huskers. Of course, 3-8 this year, 1-7 in Big Ten play. I mentioned Steve Sipple had something in his column about the news yesterday. He wrote, from what I've been told, it's possible he could be facing a 6-month recovery process. That could keep him sidelined until May. In other words, he might not be afforded a spring season to gain on-field comfort in a new system. And that's the thing. That could be one thing if this happened, before this season. Let's say that the exact same scenario unfolded last November, the week before Iowa. He gets injured. He doesn't play against Iowa. He's out for 6 months. He doesn't get a spring ball. He returns in May. Well, at that point, at least, he knows the offense. He knows a good amount of the skill players, though he wouldn't have worked out with Samori Toure yet. He would have gotten the summer months to do so, and certainly fall camp. But he would have been very comfortable, at least in the system, in his teammates, yada, yada, yada. This is a different scenario, and it's going into a season with a new quarterback coach, a new offensive coordinator, though. Well, let's see if it's actually a new system. And so I've said this on the air a bunch this year, Jack, where before the season, I was super confident that his career was done at Nebraska after the 2021 season. I kind of shifted, and that was a little bit of reading the tea leaves and a little bit of what I was hearing. I kind of went back and forth this year, and maybe I was just talking to people that, like me, didn't know what exactly was going to happen. But now, given this news, I think we might have seen Adrian Martinez take his last snap at Nebraska. And once again, whether or not you think he's a good quarterback or not, it sucks that we didn't know that he took his last snap at Nebraska if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I'll continue to say this for everything that he went through, whether he had great results or not. And like you said, there's plenty of debate about, but for that, you feel like he needs a better send-off than his last play at Nebraska, potentially being a missed defensive pass interference call when his shoulder was injured. Mm-hmm. That's what stinks about the entire situation. I don't know. I've always kind of been of the assumption that he's not going to be coming back. But how awkward is that whole situation, right? I mean, what if he wants to come back, there's no way Frost is ever going to say, no, we're done. I mean, I just don't think Frost can or will do that ever. To say to Martinez, you know what, you're not in our plans. So let's not do this. So, yeah.
You wonder if thing I wonder about is like Trev and his involvement in this right now. If there is involvement in this, because, Frost might think it's best for him to come back. Adrian might think it's best for him, but what if Adrian's family and the larger Nebraska football family, if you will, including Trev Alberts, are like, no, it's best for all of us to separate rather than keep this thing together for another season.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's still so hard because you just don't know what his alternative is, like where he's at in terms of what he wants to do. Like, is football a thing? Like, you could see it if football isn't going to be a thing for him professionally, that there would be, what's 1 year at a transfer situation going to do? Right. Like, why do you do that when you can get on with?
Hard to point out, Adrian can redshirt next year and then play in 2023. In all technicality, I know it sounds ridiculous, but he technically could, because he is actually a junior, all intents and purposes, and he still has a red shirt in his back pocket because he's never redshirted. So if he wanted to, he could either redshirt at Nebraska and then transfer, or he could transfer somebody else, redshirt, and then learn the playbook and then play again in 2023, which sounds ridiculous, and I don't think it's going to happen. But in theory, it's on the table at least.
That 2023 quarterback battle is going to be one to keep an eye on. Spring 2023.
Oh my gosh.
With Adrian. No, I had not thought of that, but that's true. I don't, I just here's the only scenario, Josh, and I probably am defined as a little bit of an Adrian apologist, slightly. I probably err a little bit that way, but what you said, notwithstanding about him not being there in the spring, to me, the one thing, and I think this has been a problem in previous years, you have got to put him into a legit competition at that position. You've got to have a legit competitor that you say very well could win that position, and that we, want, maybe not that we want to win the position, but we think can win the decision. And if he's there, and by the way, Nebraska's quarterback gets injured every year. It's somebody I saw tweeted that Martinez didn't play his last game, Armstrong didn't play his last game. All these guys didn't play their last game, and so you got to have multiple people.
Yeah, you're right. We had a conversation about that on the show yesterday about the quarterbacks at Nebraska and how, really it was from Amazing Daniel. He pointed it out, the last 3 4-year starters, which is crazy that Nebraska has essentially, outside of a couple of guys here and there, since Taylor Martinez, they have had 4-year starters. Taylor started into his 4th season before he got hurt. Tommy Armstrong then started the rest of that year. Him and Kellogg traded snaps, and then he started the rest of his career, though he was hurt at various points. And then you had the Tanner Lee season, and now you've had Adrian, and he's been hurt a couple times, and he's been benched a couple of times. But for the most part, he has also started for 4 years. But the offenses that Nebraska has run the last few seasons, and really even going back to Taylor Martinez, it has caused for some injuries, and I think part of it too, because we were also talking about the option offense of the 90s and Scott Frost and Tommy Frazier and even Eric Crouch and those guys getting injured. But it seemed like they suffered kind of different injuries where the surgeries that they would have in the offseason were more, I can't remember how Ravi put it, but it was like, just I think maintenance is how he described them. Whereas Adrian, this shoulder injury is certainly much more than a maintenance, given what Sip had to say about it in his column yesterday. So it's, they've asked a lot of him, especially, and he's gotten hurt because of it at times.
Do you know what a crazy thought is that just occurred to me now, and maybe people have thought about this before, but is the best situation, given that you've needed 2 quarterbacks so many times, and pulling in 2 quarterbacks in the offseason that'll be ready to play? I don't know what Logan Smothers is going to be, but is the best situation Adrian Martinez is recovering from surgery and he's your backup quarterback next year on the bench?
Best scenario in terms of like what angle?
The best scenario is you bring in 2 transfers, or whatever. The best situation at quarterback is that you bring somebody in who's wins the spot, who's a starter, who works better in the offense, but he's still there as the backup, knowing, obviously it's a new offense, but knowing the system, being experienced, being a leader, and all those sorts of things. I'm just saying the best scenario for the team in the position.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good for the position. Having a player, literally a 4-year starter as your backup quarterback, if you take out the egos and you just look at it from the perspective of having raw depth, it's hard to imagine a college team that has a better situation than that. It's what you hope to have with pro franchises, right? Like I remember last year, Dallas's backup was Andy Dalton. Like that was a great scenario to have. You have a guy who started playoff games, a guy who started a ton of regular season games. This is only a good thing for the Dallas Cowboys. I guess the only negative that I can find is just knowing how things are. The starter performs poorly, and which is funny because then the people will be like, I want Adrian Martinez. So you'd have the Adrian Martinez supporters saying, hey, I want the backup quarterback. You have the people who like the backup quarterbacks in general saying, I want the backup quarterback. And it would be such a discussion. I can't imagine that like Frost would enjoy talking about it, on a weekly basis of, hey, how's Adrian doing? And do you think Adrian could start? And are you going to try to get Adrian in the games? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, but it's not really uncharted water. I mean, number one, you're right. That happens with every backup quarterback to an extent.
Yeah.
And number two, they went through it last year.
That's true.
I mean, he's been in that role. He seemed to handle it well. I mean, maybe we shouldn't throw away that scenario. And I don't know. My assumption still is that he isn't going to stay. But I again ask the question: to what end? Right? Is it really toward a professional football career? What do you get out of 1 year of transferring if your future isn't in professional football? I don't know if he thinks his, or if he's hearing that his is or not, or if there's bodies going to allow him to do that. But if it's not, it'd be an ego issue, right? Could you really, after the career you've had, potentially go in there and say, hey, there's a real likelihood that I'm going to be the backup quarterback here in this offense?
Yeah. I guess if you're looking for him to transfer, if that's the angle you think that is best for him, you say, what does he benefit? Well, he could go somewhere where he starts, so he'd certainly want to go into a position where he feels confident that he's going to be the starting guy. So you start with that. You maybe look at a situation where he's going to have an opportunity to go to a bowl game. Maybe he wants to try his hand at either a lesser conference, if you will, a different conference, if you will. But I have wondered, would he want to go home? And I don't know the quarterback situations on the West Coast, so I'm not going to just throw out. So I want to say like Fresno, but that's mainly because that's where he's from. But I don't know their quarterback situation off the top of my head, if that would be somewhere he would go. But I've wondered that. Would he want to go somewhere where there's a combination of likelihood of making a bowl game and maybe playing against lesser competition? That said, his girlfriend, she attends Kansas State. And so, they've been able to, I saw an article from this past weekend from, I believe, the Kansas State student paper. I can't remember what it was, talking about their relationship and how they've done it, quote unquote, long distance. She started out at Nebraska before transferring. Would that make sense for him? It seems like this is something that they want to last for a long time to go all the way back to California. I mean, really, would Kansas State be a team that would make sense for him? Once again,
probably
me not knowing their quarterback situation, but a different conference, not playing up against Big Ten competition.
Well, they still love to run the quarterback. Kansas State does. So
yeah,
perhaps. I mean, there's quarterback run oriented as anyone's been the last few years.
Dan says, will Martinez be called out on Senior Day Friday to walk across the field? Yes, he will be participating. I think Frost said he will. You have that audio there, Nick, about Adrian Martinez and Senior Day. Let's see. We're looking for it right now. There it is. Yep. Here's Scott Frost yesterday at the press conference.
I would encourage him to. I haven't talked to him about that. I'm kind of talking to each of those guys individually, but I would encourage him to walk, and certainly hope it's not his last one. But if it is, he needs to be honored.
Yeah, so I couldn't remember if he said he encouraged him or if he said that he was going to walk. So, yeah, and I think that that's probably the right play, because if he ends up, whether he ends up graduating and just being done with football forever, transferring and never playing football in Nebraska again, or going to the pros, whatever it is, if this is it, you definitely want to have a goodbye for him. You want to allow the fans to cheer. And look, if he ends up coming back next year, who cares? Like, is that really going to bother you? That's happened before. Nebraska's had players that have participated in Senior Day and then come back again for another season.
Right.
I don't see any harm in doing that, no matter what's going to happen moving forward.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure we'll get to this again a little bit later in the show, just because it's such a big issue. But like, what do you do if you're Frost? Because you don't know. I mean, what are we talking about? The transfer market? Probably we're talking about the transfer market, or and to be honest, to get this real sense of what Logan Smothers can do in one game, I think is really going to shape, probably more than it should, but it's really going to shape the conversation this offseason in a way we just wouldn't have had this data point to obsess about for the entire offseason. I mean, talk about a tryout here, and at least, I don't know if the coaches are going to put too much into it, but the fans definitely will.
No, and Jack, you said it. Like, we're going to talk about it probably more than we should, But if Logan Smothers performs well, I can already see the narrative being written of, oh, hey, you don't need to go into the transfer portal for a starter. Maybe you go in the transfer portal for backup, but he performed well against one of the best defenses in the country in Iowa. Stand pat, keep the roster as is. Meanwhile, if he performs poorly, you'll see the cries for the transfer portal immediately. I am going to say I think Nebraska needs to go into the transfer portal regardless. But part of that is my opinion about Logan Smothers as a quarterback. So,
and by the way, does anyone transfer to be the backup quarterback if they think there's a likelihood of that happening? Like, I know people have talked about that, but I just don't.
Yeah, if you're going to the portal, you're going for a guy that thinks he can come in and be a starter immediately, which is the attitude that you want any quarterback to have, regardless of if they're going to win or lose the job. Hockey Dad 514 says there's no situation in which I'd want him back. He's absolutely a stand-up kid, but 4 years is enough. He didn't get better. And since I think next year will be like this year, Frost is going to end up gone anyway. So let's all move on fresh and see what happens. Yeah, the part of me, Jack, that thinks next year should be an ultimate deciding season for Scott Frost's tenure, and I think it will be to some degree, depending on what their record is. I want to see him with a different quarterback because a once-in-a-century pandemic would present this odd data point of a 5-year starting quarterback that you literally wouldn't have in any other era of college football. And so, that's me being selfish, though. And I admit that I'm being selfish as somebody who wants to see what his program can do with a non-Adrian Martinez starter over the course of a full season. But Frost can't think that way. Trev can, but I don't think Frost can be like, sorry, Adrian, we need to judge myself off of a non-U quarterback. You got to take a hike. It can't happen that way.
No, and I agree with the sentiment from the tweet as well. I mean, I think I feel that way about the starting quarterback. I think my only point was, and I don't think it's likely, but I also think it is incredibly important to have depth at the quarterback position, not just a starter. And if there was a scenario where he was available, body doesn't take the beating, right? And he was available as a backup when needed. I can't think of a lot of scenarios where that would be better than that. I can't see a likely scenario that sounds a whole lot better than that, to be honest. But I don't think that's necessarily likely. It was just kind of something that popped in my head as we got to talking about it.
Yeah, Amazing Daniel does point out Fresno State has a senior quarterback who transferred from Washington, also has potential extra eligibility, though. I assume because of COVID. That's me adding the latter part. He says the rest are freshmen. So there you go. And then S on Twitter says, how does NIL play in? He will make the best money here if he doesn't go pro instead of transferring. That is, Mr. S or Mrs. S, I guess. That is the biggest question that has kind of surrounded this that we just don't have the answer to. I don't know how many times I've been asked. I imagine, Jack, you've been asked quite a bit. How much does he make? How much do you think he makes? I've been asked that about Adrian. I've been asked that about JoJo Doman. I've been asked that about a lot of players. I don't know the answer. And so I can't tell. I would assume it's decent. I would assume it's solid money. You know, he's a 4-year starting quarterback. As a lot of people said, very well spoken, does a great job in front of the cameras. You know, he seems like somebody that you would want to endorse your product. But I don't know the figures because there's been, if I remember right, there's been no figures reported around here. Meanwhile, we've seen some stuff at, Miami, Alabama, et cetera, for example, just not so much around here.
And I know you and Josh, you and John talk about this too. The other thing that factors in as well, and I don't know if it still does as much if he sits as a backup for an entire year. But another thing that factors in is, hey, listen, there is a lot to goodwill being a former player in this community, probably in Omaha as well. When you're thinking about your future, a non football future, just look at all the guys who are here, Josh, that are not from here and who are still here being successful at other things, some media and some not, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, you talk about really good careers all the way down to barely ever playing, but it's a combination of two things. Certainly the name, former Nebraska Cornhusker, that's a huge thing. But if you have the personality to go along with that, I mean, it opens it. And that's the thing. I think he does too. It opens up, a wide variety of options for him, in his post-playing career.
It would be a job market unlike anywhere else for him. I'll say that.
Yeah. Plus too, before we go to break, it's also a new era of just like media and avenues in which you can do things with, of course, podcasting and radio shows, and guest columns, and all sorts of stuff. So there really is a variety of avenues that he could go after if he so chose.
I hear you saying you want him as your new co-host.
Yeah, well, I mean, John decided to quit out on me today, so maybe it'll be Unsportsmanlike Conduct with Josh Peterson and Adrian Martinez. I don't know. Maybe.
I'd listen to that.
Yeah, I hope you would. I appreciate that. By the way, more donations coming in on the GoFundMe. The links are all over Jack and my Twitter pages from today, up to $4,369.
Nice.
Thank you. Dollars right now on
69
on the GoFundMe. And we also got another Venmo there, Jack, over the last few minutes, up to $1,266.95.
Don't send it to the Venmo. Don't do it.
I guess every time I say don't send it to the Venmo, people are just going to send it to the
It's the Streisand effect. Do you not have a way to just private your Venmo so only people you know?
I might have
donate?
to Google how to do that. I probably should make it private. Because Jack, it's going to reach a certain point where I say, if you send me money on Venmo, I'm just going to keep it. Now, we're not to that point anymore. We're not anywhere near that point yet. But once we get past the game, it's done. If my Venmo is open for my friends and family and stuff.
If you donate to the GoFundMe, you are in on the group bet of $1,000.
Yeah.
That is the bit for Milt. And if you don't want to do it that way, do it on your own. Okay?
Yep.
Either way. Just make sure you tell us so we know the pledge is coming.
All right. So let us know. Send us a screenshot of what you're gambling and let us know, and we will retweet that all over. Really, literally everywhere we're at on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. All right, Jack is going to disappear. He'll be back in like a half hour. He'll be back in a half hour, and when he returns, we'll have more fun, lovely conversations, and we will also be then minutes away from Todd Munson. He's going to join us in an hour. Todd wrote the obituary for his father that we have been talking about a lot over the last 24 hours. Milton Andrew Munson Jr. He passed away a week ago today at the age of 73. He was a former Hastings resident, passed away in Grand Island. A couple of things in the obituary, really stood out, made a lot of people laugh. In lieu of flowers, place a irresponsibly large wager on Nebraska beating Iowa, mentioned the depression of the season, but there was also some pretty serious and heavy stuff in there as well. And we'll talk about both the fun and some of the heavy stuff with Todd in an hour.
Real quick, Josh, there's going to be some stuff in this story that surprises people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So we initially yesterday, real quick before you leave, Jack, we initially yesterday had only seen the obituary. Well, then we eventually stumbled upon the tweet from Todd that mentioned the relationship, or perhaps lack thereof, with his father over the last couple of decades. And that was when you and I realized, oh, wow, this interview is going to be maybe a bit different than what we originally planned on. I'm very happy that we saw the original tweet as well. So we kind of knew which, maybe not to just be so laughy and jovial the entire time. And plus somebody passed away as well. So it's a sad affair.
Also, you told me you thought that he was his grandson. And then I asked him that.
I didn't say that.
Yeah,
you did. You did
first.
Oh,
you were the reason I said it.
Oh, my
This
bad.
is
But I
not
said it
good.
Yeah, Jack asked him, he goes, so you're his grandson, right? And he goes, no, I'm his son. And what did you say? Well, you look very young and handsome.
I could think I froze up, Josh.
That was awesome. It made me laugh very hard. I imagine it made Todd laugh as well.
I hope so.
And hopefully, by the way, Todd has landed. I know his flight was scheduled to get into Omaha around 3:00. So hopefully he is at Epley right now, leaving, and he'll join us in an hour. GBR says donation made. Thanks for organizing and happy Thanksgiving. GBR, thank you. And GBR. All right, Jack's going to be gone for a little bit. He'll be back near the top of the 4:00 hour. Todd Munson will join us after 4:00. Steve Sipple in a couple hours as well. It is Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone.
Join 1620 The Zone, Westwood Plaza, and the United States Marine Corps as we stuff the truck. Friday, December 10th from 3 till 6 and Saturday, December 11th from noon to 6 at Westwood Plaza on 123rd and Center. Help families in need this holiday season by donating a new unwrapped toy for a child to open Christmas morning. All the info at 1620thezone.com. It's Stuff the Truck to benefit Toys for Tots with Westwood Plaza, Werner Enterprises, and 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Welcome back to Unsportsmanlike Conduct on this Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Also, we are available today live on 1620 The Zone TV all show long. And if you enjoy that, well, stay tuned because maybe next year will be a whole lot of fun for you from 6A to 6B. That's all I'm going to say right now. Jack will rejoin us towards the end of this hour. And I'm looking forward to having him back on. A lot more to talk about. And we will welcome in Todd Munson. And really, talk about a variety of things. The obituary, how it got put together. Did he ever think that it was going to maybe leave the sphere of the actual paper that it was posted in itself? Is he annoyed by me that, I tweeted it out and it's kind of blown up over the last, 48 to 72 hours? And now moving forward, the wager on Nebraska and exactly what he is hoping to do with that, the winnings, if Nebraska is able to do so a whole lot more. So I'm looking forward to talking to Todd, also why he chose Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Nebraska. And speaking of, if you want to contribute, but you are somebody like my girlfriend, by the way, who is like, look, I love this idea. This is very, very cool. I don't think Nebraska is going to beat Iowa, though, on Friday. So I don't want to, donate to something that I think will be a loser. Well, that's why we set up the GoFundMe, and it's over $4,300 now. It's approaching $4,400 on GoFundMe. GoFundMe.com/F/4Milt has all the information there, and that goes directly to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska. This is for nonprofits and charities. We just decided to check that box. I don't have to worry about anything moving forward, and nobody else has to worry about anything moving forward.
Can I just say, Josh, that this thing that you and Jack are doing is like the most positive vibe thing I've ever seen in my life.
The Positive Boys. Pretty cool, man.
It's a good vibe.
It's very cool. It's very legal. It's very cool. Speaking of Positive Boys, Brian says, the Positive Boys is the key to the Positive Boys 2022, creating awesome gambling / charity situations for every Husker game. And I also got a note near the top of the show from South Carolina Roger. And he says, if this works and the Skurs pull it off Friday, this will need to become an annual event. Raj, have no fear. I've been thinking something similar. I wonder if this could have some legs beyond this year. Certainly, we got to get through Friday first, and we will go from there. But I love this. It's been a whole lot of fun, and it's for a really good cause. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next.
I don't have.
Okay, cool. I thought that, no, you're good. I thought that you were about to say something. Going back to some of the conversation. Vibe. We're all vibing over here.
We're all vibing,
and we're the Positive Boys. We had a little conversation about Adrian Martinez last segment. If you missed it, and I imagine you haven't by now, he is out for Senior Day versus Iowa. Frost is going to try to talk him into participating, though, at least in the walkout. But we don't know about his future. Steve Sipple, he wrote in his story off of the press conference yesterday, from what I've been told, it's possible he could be facing a 6-month recovery process. And, given what's going on with the coaching staff, he would have a new OC, a new quarterbacks coach, and he would be unable, if that 6-month timeline is correct, you're talking about May, he'd miss spring ball. So he'd miss those reps. He'd get the quote-unquote mental reps that coaches often talk about, but he wouldn't get the physical reps. What's the roster going to look like? What's the construction of the roster going to look like? What types of new players would he have to work with? What's going on with the receiver room? You have some players that could potentially be back, but, Samori Toure, who's ended up putting together a really good season for Nebraska, and especially, as of late, he was a guy, as we talked about, and I remember talking about it a few different times with Guess and with John. I mean, he was a player that early on in the season, well into the halfway point of the season, he had 3 good games. After Minnesota, he had 3 games where he had more than 100 yards. They were the wins. And so on one hand, you look at that and say, wow, he's that important to Nebraska's offense. And maybe he was. But I would also say, was something going on when he was going up against good competition? Because, the 3 100-yard games took place versus Fordham, Buffalo, and Northwestern. Well, after that, or outside of that, rather, he had under 47 yards in every game outside of that. 47 against Purdue, 1 against Minnesota, 37 against Michigan. You catch my drift. Well, the last 2 weeks, he has put up 263 total yards on 11 catches, has added a couple of touchdowns as well. Well, he'll be gone next season. So you lose him. Let's see what happens with the rest of the receiver room, who stays, who goes. And so all of that, it's going to be tough for Adrian. Along those lines, Tanner emails into the Equitable Bank inbox. At what point does Adrian just want to be done with beating up his body? He's almost had a surgery every offseason since his junior year of high school. if we want to hang it up, or if he wants to hang it up, I think his best option is his best option is a graduate assistant here and coach quarterbacks here and still be in the system. And look, Tanner brings up a fine point. My brother Caleb, he said the same thing earlier. Boy needs to just retire for his health. He's a walking injury. And that's the part that really sucks about all this too, is that he is a player that has gotten so banged up throughout his career. And so it's not even like a slam dunk of returning or going somewhere else, because you just don't know. You just don't know. And that's why I wonder about the name, image, likeness component in all of this and what that could mean. And if Nebraska could end up being a bit more enticing than some other schools. By the way, real quick, before we go to break, we need a sports flash.
Oh,
sports flash. Time for an unsportsmanlike conduct sports flash update. Sports flash. From the Sports Flash Sports Desk.
This is from the Penn State Athletics Twitter account. James Franklin has agreed to a new 10-year contract to remain as the head coach for the Nittany Lions all the way through the 2031 season.
Sports flash.
I'm scrolling, I'm looking for numbers, I'm looking for dollar signs, and I'm not seeing it. So they're either burying the lead and it's at the very bottom, or it's just not in here at all. They do have a link to the contract terms. Oh, wow, sure enough, here it is. Wow, so his base pay, get this, his base pay is only $500,000 per year. His supplemental pay, though, is $6.5 million a year. So his annual compensation is $7 million a year. There's some bonuses, of course, yada, yada, yada. So there you go, $7 million a year for another 10 years. 10-year, $70 million contract for one James Franklin. It's interesting.
Wow.
I'd heard a couple college football podcasts I listened to, and there was a story on SI.com over the weekend about Franklin, and that I guess he'd been going around telling people, I don't know if it was on or off the record, like, yeah, he's about to sign. Sure enough, he's about to sign. So take his name off the board for USC, for LSU, for Florida, and any other job that could potentially open up over the coming weeks. James Franklin is staying at Penn State. Pretty interesting, man. When USC first opened up in September, he was like the slam dunk name that a lot of people kept mentioning. And say what you will about him on the field as an on-field coach, I think he's a really good program builder. But James Franklin, he is staying at Penn State for 10 more years, at least according to the contract, $7 million per season.
How common is a 10-year contract? Because that seems crazy.
Now it's starting to get a little bit more common. Like Jimbo Fisher, he signed a 10-year deal. Not that long ago, this was not normal. I remember, Nick, it was 15 years ago next month. Nick Saban agreed to be the head coach at Alabama ahead of the 2007 season. He signed, at the time, a game-changing contract. It was 8 years, $32 million total. So he was getting $4 million a year, and that was a game changer. James Franklin is now making $7 million a year at Penn State over 10 years, and that's not the highest paid job in college football. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things have changed since Nick Saban went to Alabama. All right, when we return, more of your responses about the quarterback situation and about some other stuff as well. Also, I do want to talk about Adrian and like what this means. You know, if he has now played his last snap, how are we going to remember him? Tom Chattel wrote about it in his column for today. We can talk about that and a whole lot more. Plus, Jack Mitchell, he will be rejoining us near the top of the hour. And next hour, Todd Munson will stop by, talk about the obituary that he wrote for his father. What's it like to write something that ends up going viral like it has? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more with Todd, including the donation that we set up to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska, up to $4,374 right now. You can check that out. Links are all over the place. We'll retweet one again at USC 1620. We're broadcasting live from the Host Coffee Zone studio. He's Nick Remo, Josh Peterson, Jack Mitchell back in a bit on Sportsmanlike Conduct 1620 The Zone. Josh Peterson, Nick Grimm with you on Unsportsmanlike Conduct, 1620 The Zone. Jack Mitchell will rejoin the program momentarily, running some errands in the city of Lincoln. He is a dad, after all. He's got some sex trophies. Todd has landed in Omaha. Just got in touch with him. Just finished eating at Epley, and he'll be getting picked up in a few minutes. So we will have him on in a little over a half hour from now. Looking forward to that conversation with Todd. We mentioned going into break, James Franklin, if you missed it, agreed to a 10-year, $70 million extension with the Penn State Nittany Lions. And I pointed out to Nick, because he asked, is this normal, 10-year contracts? And it's kind of started becoming a bit more normal as of late. And I pointed out, when Nick Saban agreed to be the Alabama head coach at the end of the 2006 season, his first year, of course, was the 2007 season. That's 15 years ago now. And David writes in, it's trippy. 15 years ago seems sometimes not that long ago to us. It doesn't seem like Saban has been there 15 years. But in 2000, if someone started talking to you about the 85 Bears like it wasn't that long ago, you'd think they were crazy. And I remember one of my favorite writers is Chuck Klosterman. And he, in one of his books, he wrote about time travel, just the idea of time travel in pop culture, yada, yada, yada. Well, one of the things that he mentioned was Back to the Future and how 1955, how that seemed to the characters in 1985. And we've all done it, right? Like, okay, so in 85, you're talking about 30 years ago, and think about the way in which my parents were like they're Marty McFly's age, barely older than Marty McFly. If their parents are talking to them about the 50s, you'd be like, that's so long ago, it's forever ago, blah, blah, blah. Well, now if we remade Back to the Future today and it was 30 years ago in the past, we'd go back to 1991. That doesn't seem that long ago. And so, look, my parents have ended up being right about a lot of things. One of the things that they said a bunch when I was growing up was like, time is going to fly when you get older, and you will look back and you'll say, that wasn't that long ago. And I'd say, you guys are old, shut up. You don't know what you're talking. I wouldn't tell my parents to shut up. I would have gotten grounded. But I essentially said that without saying it. They were right, Nick.
Were they?
1991 is not that long ago. I
wasn't alive. So
you were but a glint in your parents' eye. And now here you are producing an afternoon radio show in Omaha, Nebraska, asking about Nick Saban's contract. So, what a time to be alive.
15 years ago when that thing was first proposed for Saban.
06, yeah.
06?
Yeah.
Okay, I was 9. Yikes.
Yeah.
Did that make sense at the time? Like when that was announced, did it blow everybody's minds? Or was it like, yeah, no, that makes sense?
This might be revisionist history for me. If I remember right, it was a combination of, because quick background on Nick Saban. He'd been a head coach at Michigan State in the mid to late 90s. Took over at LSU, a program that was often talented but was rarely a winner. They hadn't won a national title, I believe, since the 50s. They won a national champ. They won an SEC title in 2001. They won the national championship in 2003. He coached there one more year. Then he went to the Miami Dolphins. And so when
Wait,
he's
1 second.
Yeah, fins up.
Okay.
And it was a mixed bag. First season pretty solid. They finished strong, and a lot of people liked them going into 2006 for a variety of reasons. That team was bad. He ended up coming back to college. And so there were some that were saying, whatever mojo he had at LSU, it's not going to be recaptured. I thought he was going to be good. I don't have any proof of this. I wasn't on Twitter in 2006, 2007. I thought he was going to be good. But Alabama at the time, much like Nebraska today, they were a historically great program who had struggled mightily on the football field. Now, the difference, of course, between Nebraska and Alabama is their access to talent was, much greater. Recruiting easier at Alabama, just given the nature of the states that they surround themselves by.
Mm-hmm.
People thought he was going to be good. Long way of giving you an answer. People thought he was going to be good. I don't think anybody expected him to become the greatest coach in the history of college football. And that's what Nick Saban has become. He's become the greatest coach in the history of college football.
Some could argue that it's because his name is Nick.
I don't think anyone.
It's a really cool name that really cool people have.
I don't think anyone would argue that.
Out on Santa, then.
I don't think anyone. Well, yeah, you didn't mention Saint Nick.
Still a Nick. Yeah, very cool Nick.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to argue with you there. Joel says we're all still donating to #4Milt through Venmo because it's really funny at this point, right? Yeah, Joel, I think people might be, man. I checked, and there's still money going in there. It's over $1,300 now in the old Venmo, and I moved all but $1,000 a few hours ago, and so nobody's listening. Go to the GoFundMe. That's what we want. Just on the GoFundMe. I didn't want to ask the question about Adrian Martinez. We can do that when we return, so we don't blow through the clock. Jack Mitchell's going to rejoin us in a little bit as well. But really, the ultimate question is with him, and we can unpack this a little bit more when we return. How are you going to remember his career? Tom Chattel wrote about in his column today, he is a winner to me, and I'm paraphrasing, but that's ultimately the theory or the opinion that Tom has. Is he a winner to you? How will you remember him? He's a fascinating test case. He's a fascinating subject. He's one of the most fascinating players that I've had a chance to either cover or watch in my time watching Nebraska football, which goes back to the mid-90s. And historically, going back further than that. He is a very unique kind of guy for a bunch of reasons. And I'd like to unpack some of those when we return and also maybe make a comparison that could upset some people. But it's been something that's been on my mind over the last week, and I think that it makes a little bit of sense. Jack Mitchell's also going to rejoin us at some point before 4 o'clock, and then Todd Munson will stop by at 4:15. We'll talk about the passing of his father and really what the last roller coaster of a few days have been like for him and the Munson family. Looking forward to having him on as he returns to Nebraska, living out in L.A. these days. So looking forward to talking with Todd. Steve Sipple is going to join us in about an hour as well. It is Unsportsmanlike Conduct on this Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, 1620 The Zone.
well. I don't want to talk about him like he's gone. So I don't want to get into those speculations. Playing quarterback here is tough. Being a head coach here is tough. I've said it a bunch. You get more praise than you deserve when things are going well, more blame you deserve when things aren't. I've lived that as a quarterback, and he's done a ton of really good things at the University of Nebraska. Sometimes it's been great, sometimes it hasn't. But I admire him, respect him, and he and I have been battling through a lot together. And I just appreciate who he is.
That was Scott Frost, excuse me, at yesterday's press conference talking about Adrian Martinez, if he has played his last game. And, we don't know the answer to that question right now. I would love to know if Adrian knows the answer to that question, if he thinks he has, if Scott Frost knows the answer to that question. But that's something that's going to have to be figured out in the coming days, weeks. And I don't imagine it goes much further beyond that. I don't think it goes into months. I think a month from now, we definitely are going to know. The semester will be over. I think we'll know by that point in time what Adrian Martinez's career is going to look like, whether he has finished with Nebraska or whether he will be playing one more season. And theoretically, as somebody pointed out earlier, he could technically come back for another year if he decided to redshirt next year, but I don't imagine that that's going to happen. Matthew, on the YouTube page, and we are broadcasting live today on 1620 The Zone TV ahead of our interview with Todd Munson in a little over a half hour from now. We'll talk about his father's obituary and a whole lot more. But Matthew says 2 a.m. let Nebraska down sometimes, but Nebraska let 2 a.m. down a lot more. A better OL and better returning wide receivers would have made him a much better quarterback. Nebraska didn't do enough to put the talent him. And so that is an interesting viewpoint from Matthew. And I've heard a lot kind of along those lines from people, over the course of this season, how much of the struggles are on him, how much of the struggles are on those around him, how much of the struggles are on the coaches. And he is one of those players where, because of his career and because of how it's unfolded, and because we're never going to get to see him, well, I guess for now we're not seeing him anywhere else. We're not going to get an answer to that. Though maybe we do. Maybe we do get an answer. If he goes somewhere next year and struggles, well, I think that it kind of answers the question. But if he goes somewhere else and he plays extremely well, then maybe we're having a very different conversation. We welcome Jack Mitchell back into the program. He joins us right now. Hello, Jack.
Hey, thanks for being patient with me there, trying to cram a few things in here. Got my daughter home from school, so ready to go. And it sounds like we're getting into Adrian some more.
Yeah, because the question that I wanted to ask is, how will you remember his career at Nebraska if this is all said and done? I had the record earlier, 14-24 as a starting quarterback. I mentioned, the Tom Chattel column and what he had to say about him, where in his book, he is a winner. I'm kind of paraphrasing the entire column, but that's what it was. He is a winner, even though he never had that moment. He never had a winning season. He never took him to a bowl game. He is going to leave Nebraska, I would guess. I don't have the numbers, right? He's like the biggest loser in terms of wins and losses as a starting quarterback that the program has ever had. And yet, and he doesn't have his detractors, so I don't want to pretend like everybody is in full, support of him. He is talked about in much more glowing terms than Tommy Armstrong, in much more glowing terms than Taylor Martinez. There are people who probably like Adrian more than they liked Scott Frost. There are people that like him probably more than they liked Jamal Lord. He is a hard career to talk about, because I think ultimately how you view him comes down to maybe the important things for you. If you are somebody that is all just about wins and losses, well, you're probably going to say, I don't care how nice he was. But if you are somebody who cares about maybe the human side a bit more than the raw wins and losses, he is going to be a player that you not only appreciate, but that you're going to have fond memories of, even though he never took Nebraska to anything of note.
Yeah, in some ways, I don't. The best comparison for me, I think that Tommy Armstrong one is interesting, because how do you think about him as a Nebraska quarterback? And with Taylor, like Tommy, you don't really necessarily think of him like, man, he never reached his potential. Like you don't, but you definitely think that about Taylor, right? It feels, and maybe people don't. I guess I do. I should say that, between the injuries and the teams and everything that just went wrong. But you saw I mean, I still think there were flashes that you saw in Josh. I was on your show even a month ago, and I think you agreed with me at that time that he was probably at that point the best quarterback, probably the likely all Big Ten quarterback. Now CJ Stroud's probably going to win the Heisman, but like at that point, which is weird how things can flip. But at one point, I mean, you had those moments with him that you didn't with some of those that you just kind of think is more pedestrian Nebraska quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So now his season is done. So we know for sure his season is done. And I'm looking at his overall totals for the season as a passer: 2,863 yards, the most yards he's ever had in a season in his career. 9.4 yards per attempt, easily the most yards per attempt he's ever had. 61.8% completion percentage. Not as good as last year, but last year was a lot of dinking and dunking, but better than 2019. Not as good as a freshman. And the thing, though, that stands out to me, let me add those running totals real fast. 525 yards, though under 4 yards to carry, but he did add 13 touchdowns. The thing that stands out to me, though, Jack, especially as I think back to the conversation that you just mentioned, a 14-10 touchdown to interception ratio, which better than last year, 4-3, and better than 2019, which was 10-9, but not as good as his first year, which was 17-8. But when we had that conversation, and so you're right, it was after Michigan, wasn't it? That was when we discussed it?
Possibly, yeah.
At that time, he had 9 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. And so since then, he has had 5 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. And it's pretty crazy how I was with you. I thought, wow, easily, this is going to be his best season, bar none, by like all the metrics. The raw numbers, maybe not the wins and losses, though at the time it certainly seemed like they could pick up a couple more wins or, challenge for a bowl game. And now in the end, for some things in his control, he has made mistakes, but some things out of his control, like the injuries, this season on paper, 10 years from now, you talk to somebody who didn't watch Adrian Martinez and they're not going to have any idea that he was supposedly different this year than he was any other year because the numbers look darn near the same.
Yeah, it's so weird. And the fact that first year was so good. A couple things I'd wonder. Like if you're talking, I think, I don't know where to start this, but maybe you start with Joe Daly in 2004, the post Jamal Lord quarterbacks. How you would arrange them exactly in terms of how you think of them. In some ways, and it's not just because people always mix up their names, but in some ways, it's the most comparable of potential that never realized as Taylor Martinez. In a lot of ways. And the same way too, Taylor started off gangbusters, right?
Incredible start to his career.
Freshman year, little Heisman talk, right? Remember that? That sort of stuff, ridiculous numbers. And then injuries, right? Battled injuries. Wasn't the same after he got injured. No. Benched for a little while, came off the bench, back and forth. In a lot of ways, there's a lot similar in kind of how you think of them after the fact, to be honest. And didn't, of course, he was on a team that went to that Big 12 championships. He had more successes.
Yeah, 2 conference title games for Taylor versus obviously none for Adrian.
Than Adrian did. But when you sit down and kind of think about it, that's my best guess on what his legacy looks like right now, which is a little bit of what could have been and what was happening during those great situations that you just couldn't duplicate more often.
Yeah, Coach Schrader says, I will remember him for trying to play behind the worst offensive line I've ever seen play at NU, all while being asked to be the leading rusher in the majority of games he played in. And that's certainly a great point, and I imagine that there will be a lot of others who say something along those lines of, I will remember him for being put in a bad situation where the struggles of the program and the struggles that he had himself weren't all on him. And I think that's what makes his... Because I'm with you, by the way. I think that his most comparable person, it's not Tommy Armstrong. It's more Taylor Martinez. And that's because of kind of how they were talked about, how they were covered, and the blame or praise that they each received. Now, certainly Taylor had much better players around him. A much better stable of running backs, a much better offensive line, a much better group of receivers, and a much better defense. He had those groups. Though I guess maybe later stages of Taylor Martinez, the defense took a step back. But Adrian is like the personification of that player that when he played well, he got a lot of the credit, and Nebraska won games, and very few of them. But when he played poorly, it was either his fault because, hey, he threw that interception, or it was the offense, it was everybody else's fault. And I guess I always was able to hear both sides of the argument. It made sense for me.
Yeah. Now, the one big difference between the two of those guys is sort of their off the field personality. I mean, they're kind of polar opposites in that way.
Yeah.
You have one of the most refined, best communicators that I've heard anyone behind the podium. I mean, he sounds to me like he'd be an incredible politician. He's really good. And Taylor was not that.
Do you think, because I said before we went to break that I was going to say something that I thought might ruffle a bit of feathers, and so I'll say it now. If Adrian did not have that, let's say that he has Taylor's personality, are we having any of these discussions about how will he be remembered? Because I would argue no, because you know what it brings up to me, Jack, and this is a thing that I know will frustrate people. We talk about Adrian like the Mike Riley supporters talked about Mike Riley. You love everything about him except for on the field. You love how nice of a person he is. You love, hey, I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say he is somebody that I would love to go home with my daughter? He has turned into that type of person where everything he does off the field, for them at least, it masks his on the field struggles. But I can't help but think if he talked like Taylor Martinez, if he had the mannerisms like Taylor Martinez, if he seemed detached like Taylor Martinez, if this discussion would not be so one side versus the other, but if everyone would say, yeah, he's a bad quarterback and he's a weirdo. I just wonder if that'd be the case. Probably.
But I mean, I've admitted to you, and I will admit that stuff matters to me and how I get attached to players and coaches. I mean, it does. So I'm sure that's the case. But keep in mind, it's not just about, the way they sound at the podium behind the mic that's influenced that view of Taylor, or excuse me, of Adrian. Jeez, this is confusing. We've got to get some Nebraska quarterbacks who are not named
No more Martinez's.
Or Lee's or Tanner or Taylor's or Zach's, or it's just Tommy. I mean,
there's a lot of them that are all they're either Z names, Martinez names, or T names. They're all
there's Zach Lee, there's Tanner Lee, there's Taylor Martinez, there's Tommy Taylor, there's Tommy Frazier. Maybe it's lack of diversity. They're talking about diversity at the university right now. Maybe diversity of quarterback names is what to think about.
Yeah, you remember like when Stuart Scott and Scott Van Pelt, they did the Sports Center together, and Stuart Scott, he would say Stuart Scott Van Pelt. Like you can do that with a lot of these quarterbacks. You could say Zach Taylor Martinez, right. and then you got Zach Lee, and then you got Adrian Martinez.
Tanner Lee.
That's it. Yeah, and then Tanner Lee. My goodness, there's too many.
It's unbelievable.
Speaking of all these quarterbacks. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Well, it was funny. We were watching the game, and they kept calling. The announcers kept saying Taylor Martinez.
Yes.
And of course, we like any good Husker fans would rip them every time that they did it. And then I was talking about it yesterday when it came out that Adrian was hurt, and I said Taylor, and my family was like, "You can't do it." But back to the original thing we were talking about. You talked kind of about personality, about. I think part of what factors that in with Adrian is that it was playing through the injuries.
Yes. And that's going to really help how he is viewed when his career's done.
And it was the way he handled being benched. Which I think both of those things. But I don't know what you say about Taylor, because he played through some injuries too. But he was such, isn't crazy because God, this is terrible. Taylor was such a different player when he wasn't 100%. And
yes,
it was obvious. It was obvious to the eye. If you watch the second half of the game, pick that game or pick the second half of the Michigan State game, I guess, you could find things to critique, but it's not like you're saying, well, he's obviously playing injured because he's a different guy, right?
Jack, that is a phenomenal point. You might have nailed one of the things that kind of makes him harder to talk about is that for the most part, his career, he has looked the same. And now sometimes he looked a little heavier, sometimes he looked a little thinner. But in terms of game-to-game performance, when he was healthy, he still made terrible decisions at times. When he was hurt, he made terrible decisions. When he was healthy, he made really good plays. When he was hurt, he made really good plays. And so it was hard to kind of figure out if you closed your eye, if you had no background information on anything and you watched every game in his career on mute, I bet it'd be really difficult to figure out the games he was hurt and the games he was healthy.
Exactly. And then try that with Taylor. It was, I mean, it was totally
so much more obvious.
I mean, you turn on that Washington game that they played in Seattle, he was unstoppable. Like he's just running past people the entire time. Then go back to that Minnesota game they played in Minneapolis when they tried to play him hurt.
Horrible. Yeah.
Looked nothing like himself.
Yeah.
So that I think is probably the biggest separation, even though he probably was trying to play through injury in some of those cases. I know he was, but it's how did the injuries really manifest? That was Adrian just able to cover them up that well? Was he just able to not show it?
I thought, the last couple of games before Wisconsin, and I'm pulling up his game log right now, looking at his numbers. I thought that going into the Minnesota game, that was when he hurt his ankle. He hurt his ankle that week in practice. I thought that was one of the few times in his career where it was noticeable that he was hurt because he couldn't run. He was missing a step. But you're right, man. When Taylor Martinez got hurt, oh my gosh, it was so obvious. Remember that Texas A&M game? Everyone remembers that for the penalties. But don't forget about Taylor not being able to do a whole lot for the offense. JD,
sorry, just going to say, or Taylor in that 2010 Big 12 championship game as well. He just and one more thing on that before you go to the tweet. The other thing is Adrian has this way of running that doesn't look fast, but sort of the plays I always think of were in that weird Rutgers game last year. He had a couple of big runs in that, and I was like, it looks like he's not running fast, but he's running by people.
Yeah.
Where Taylor, Taylor just looked like he was on just flying the whole time.
Yeah, and the 2 seasons that Taylor was healthy, basically the first half of 2010, and then I thought he was in 2012. He had that game against Michigan State where he just blew by everybody. And then, of course, all the obvious ones in 2010, whether it's the first run he ever had in his career, or Kansas State or Washington. Wow, he was so fast. When he was hurt, you could tell he was hurt. But I think you're right. Outside of Adrian in some of those early career games, he never really was able to recapture the speed, at least the look of it on television and in person.
And last thought is I think everybody just expected Taylor wasn't a good passer too.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. JD says, don't you think Martinez is looked upon better because of who he played for? Josh, you're in the minority wanting Frost fired. Tommy played for the evil Mike Riley, and Taylor was Bo's guy. It's easier to not like them because of the coach that they were with. And yeah, I think that probably plays a part in it. That Adrian Martinez will be remembered as the Scott Frost quarterback. If you're a Scott Frost guy, he will be, and there are more Scott Frost supporters than there are not Scott Frost supporters. So I think that probably plays a part of it to some degree. Amazing Daniel with an interesting question. If you could put any Husker quarterback other than Gans on any post-Solich Nebraska team, where would Adrian be on your list?
Yeah, that's basically what I asked. Yeah. Post-Solich.
So you got, in terms of full year starters, you got Joe Daly, you got Zach Taylor, you got Sam Keller. After that, then you got Zach Lee, Taylor Martinez, Tommy Armstrong, Tanner Lee, and now I'm doing it. And then Adrian. I think the best quarterback in that time frame is actually pretty easy.
It's Taylor, right?
I was going to say Zach Taylor.
Yeah, that's what I said. Zach Taylor.
Oh, Zach Taylor.
There's another one. It's insane.
I know.
They've created
same names.
They've created 15 quarterbacks out of 3 names. It's unbelievable.
Nick reminds us of Cody Green. Yeah, Cody Green never started a full season, but he did start games. He would not be very high on my list. But yeah, I'd go Zach Taylor 1 and then Taylor Martinez 2. And then after that, I'd really have to start thinking about it, who I would want next. But I mean, those guys were conference offensive players of the year. I actually think that it's a lot easier than people want to make it out to be. But especially with Taylor Martinez, people didn't like him as a person. And so, I remember having debates with Stibbs all the time. He thought Tommy Armstrong was better. And I'm like, hell no, Tommy Armstrong was not better. But a lot of people feel that way. They thought he was better than Taylor Martinez, but I disagree.
God, now you make me want to go watch some of those games when Taylor was at that Kansas State game or that Washington game. It's weird to even, it's just a bizarre world to watch right now, the way that offense worked.
Coach Schrader following up, he says, we saw, and this is a good point too, we saw a bunch, Vedral, McCaffrey, all fall flat trying to carry the weight of this offense. Just further proves the problems with this offense are too wide-ranging to put on Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if you want to make an argument for Adrian Martinez actually being underrated in his career, you go look at the numbers that those guys had. Now, I think Vedral, he started 1 or 2 games, and I thought actually he was pretty solid.
He was good against Indiana. Yeah.
McCaffrey was bad. and Andrew Bunch was bad. And Bunch had one game, and McCaffrey had, 2 games? Those guys outright sucked with a lot of the same personnel that Adrian had.
I'd be interested to get more backstory on Vedral leaving. Was it that clear at that point that there was no chance? Because there would have been. That's the weird thing. There would have been a chance. Injuries or not, there would have been a chance. Like, what would have happened had Vedral stayed, right? If you just play that game out, or say McCaffrey had been the one that left, because part of the reason Vedral left is he thought McCaffrey was the heir apparent, I assume.
Yeah, you asked a question earlier today about looking ahead to next season and a player coming in and going in the transfer portal. Like, would a player come knowing that they're a backup? I remember thinking, and this was just me guessing because of the last name Vedral, like, oh, okay, he wants to come home. He went to play at UCF with Frost, but he wants to return to Nebraska, assuming that he was just doing it because he wanted to come home, not because he thought that he would win the job. For whether it's because, he thought that he was better than Adrian, in the early stages or in the later stages, that's eventually, I think, why he decided to bounce, is that he didn't get a fair shake. And you wonder what he thought when he originally joined the program. Because I remember thinking, like, that's a cool story. He's coming home. I never thought he was going to, matter, though, on the football field. And at times he did.
Yeah, it always felt that's one of the things that's going to characterize, I think people are going to think of when they think of Adrian's career too. It's, this is such a tired topic, but it was one I think I was on the minority. I couldn't believe they didn't take a shot at Joe Burrow at bringing him in when they didn't. And we're not going down that entire road now. But man, it seemed like there was so much sort of assumption. I don't know if it was within the program or what, that Adrian was set, right? Adrian was set and was not going to be unseated. And evidence of that is the Burrow thing, the Vedral thing, all of these different things with other quarterbacks. I think they thought they saw the writing on the wall. And I think that's part of the reason why you're here right now where you are.
Yeah, I agree. On the YouTube page, Matthew with a question. He says, if you swapped Adrian Martinez for CJ Stroud and 2 a.m. started at Ohio State, how many losses would Ohio State have this year and how many would NU have? Look, I think I would feel comfortable in saying this, at least, Jack. CJ Stroud, given the offensive line struggles for Nebraska, he would be nowhere near as good as he's been for Ohio State. The talent level is not as obviously, I don't need to say too much more. The talent level here is not as good as the talent level there, but especially the offensive line, because CJ Stroud's not super mobile. Now, if Adrian is there, I'm guessing that they probably have more losses than they do if Adrian is the starter in every game, but that's just because, we see it. Adrian floated some passes on Saturday. Now, how many of those were because he was hurt versus how many of those are because, he's just, bad sometimes? I'm guessing a bit more of the latter because I've seen him do it all throughout his career. He's good enough where they would still, be in contention for the Big Ten, but I would probably guess that they're 9-2, 8-3 going into this weekend rather than 10-1. But that's just
it's a really interesting question when you throw Stroud in there, because dude's going to win the Heisman being the 4th best player on his offense, right?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I think he's good. But I feel like I've watched better Ohio State quarterbacks over the last few years. I wonder if he's going to end up being like Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins was awesome. That 1 year he started, his numbers are ridiculous. I don't think Dwayne Haskins is a really good quarterback, though. But hey, Ken Dorsey almost won the Heisman. You put the right guy with the right talent, and they're going to put up huge numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unlike Joe Burrow, who I think can make a lot of teams good, and we're seeing that in the pros right now at Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating question. Frankly, I don't think the records would be a whole lot that they would be. I don't know. I don't know that they would be a whole lot different. But that's a great question to sort of narrow down what you believe the issue is and what your opinion is on the quarterback situation. I guess that's a question you'll get next year. I mean, you'll have an answer next year if he's not there.
Yeah, I did love that tweet from Schrader, though, about, look at the backups and how they were poor in the offense. That is definitely a notch on the belt of Adrian. A couple more responses real fast. Adam says, or what no one is talking about is that NU has had a run of quarterbacks since Crouch that were average at best. They've set all these records because of change in offensive philosophy. However, not one quarterback from NU dating back to this conversation to a more pass-centric offense has played a down of football in the NFL. Just another microcosm of the program's woes in general since 2001. It is nuts. It is nuts that these guys are just setting all these records, and they're doing it on like subsequent worse teams. Joe Gant set his records in 2008 on a pretty solid team. Taylor Taylor Martinez. I mean, those teams were really, really good. Tommy sets his on worse teams, and now Adrian's setting his on even worse teams. And he's not even getting conference championship games. So it's not even just about raw number of games. He's also been hurt, and he's still setting these records. But in the end, they have the record that they do.
Yeah. How was that even possible in recruiting? I mean, in that period of time,
it's nuts.
Were these all misses? Was it all a type, a player type that's not NFL material?
Yeah.
I mean, that's that to me is a fascinating question in itself.
Yeah. And I did want to add a quick note before we head to break and welcome Todd Munson onto the show. I talked about James Franklin last segment and how he was getting a 10-year, $7 million per year. It's actually $8.5 million per year because it's the salary plus a retention bonus that he'll get every year, plus a $1 million life insurance loan. And I know I'm an adult technically. I don't know what the hell how do you get paid in a loan of a life insurance? I have no idea. But he's getting $8.5 million a year. So congratulations to James Franklin and his family.
Man, that's gonna make that buyout a whole lot less. I guess we can finally take him for a while, maybe out of it, because he's always number one on all these lists.
I know,
along with the small group. But man, this year, Josh, is going to be insane in the next few weeks. Yeah. Insane. Now with Florida entering the fold too.
Yeah. And now what happens? With all these schools? It will be something to watch. All right. When we return, it sounds like, Jack, I don't know if you've had a chance to see this message, but not only will Todd be joining us, but it sounds like his brother will as well. And they were the two that they wrote the obituary that has been making the rounds over the last few days. So Todd will join, and it sounds like Troy will join as well, who lives he lives in Iowa, he lives in Des Moines, and then Todd lives out in LA. So we will give Nick a new phone number when we go to break, and we will welcome on the Munson brothers, and we will talk about really everything we've done. If you missed it, it's been it really has been incredible. The lasting wish, a large wager on Nebraska beating Iowa. Well, you friends of the program have answered in due kind. Over $4,400 now on the GoFundMe. And let's see, have I gotten any on Venmo lately? No, I haven't. Awesome. That's still like at $1,300 though. So we're approaching $6,000. $6,000 in 24 hours.
I walked across the entire city on a day and I made $6,000. We just threw this out there on Twitter. Man, I guess I don't need to walk across the city anymore.
There you go. So we will welcome on the Munson brothers when we return. Jack Mitchell filling in today for John. I'm Josh Peterson. Nick Grimm producing. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct, 1620 The Zone.
Join 1620 The Zone, Westwood Plaza, and the United States Marine Corps as we stuff the truck. Friday, December 10th from 3 till 6 and Saturday, December 11th from noon to 6 at Westwood Plaza on 123rd and Center. Help families in need this holiday season by donating a new unwrapped toy for a child to open Christmas morning. All the info at 1620thezone.com. It's Stuff the Truck to benefit Toys for Tots with Westwood Plaza, Werner Enterprises, and 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
What a day with a record high temperature in the upper 60s here late this afternoon in the Omaha Metro. Skies are going to cloud over tonight. Low temperatures drop back in the lower 40s and then mainly cloudy on Wednesday. Highs in the low 50s. I am Chief Meteorologist Bill Ranby from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct, brought to you by a great friend of the program, Union Bank and Trust.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. The disabled vehicle on JFK South has been cleared, as well as the accident on L Street. Dodge Street is starting to see some congestion around 72nd. I-80 heading eastbound is starting to see some slowdown. 680 is free and clear, though. My name is Conrad, and this has been your afternoon traffic report.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Fernando's Omaha.
Thanksgiving Eve at Fernando's at their 114th and Dodge location. It's magician Joe Cole. Joe Cole will perform tableside at Fernando's at 114th and Dodge this Thanksgiving Eve from 6 to 8. Talk about a great night for the family before Turkey Day. Get your Fernando's fix.
Do you know the common signs of transmission trouble?
Your engine revs before falling into gear, shifting is rough, or you're leaking reddish-brown fluid.
Knowing the signs could mean repair instead of replace.
That's where we come in. We're certified transmission.
The job done right at the right price.
Sid Dillon Chevrolet is your Chevrolet Business Elite dealer, offering commercial vehicles, including medium-duty trucks and low-cab forwards. Visit SidDillonChevy.com today.
You are what drives us, Sid Dillon.
Chevy, find new roads.
Creighton Blue Jay basketball season has returned, and you can get your single game tickets today. Come out and support your Blue Jays all season long as they battle in the Big East. To purchase your tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com, go Creighton.com/tickets, or just visit the on-campus ticket office located at Ryan Athletic Center. For the full schedule and to stay up to date with the Blue Jays, visit GoCreighton.com.
If it's after lunch, I probably wouldn't have fed him to the tight. I get a little ornery when I'm hungry, and timing is everything, people. That's why my Sportsbook app has live in-game betting for football. I don't care if the game has already started. If the time to make your move is in the second half, go for it. Caesar's got you. Caesar likes to move freely. That's why I'm partial to the total.
Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Email Unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
I get paid to spread holiday cheer.
You could earn extra cash this holiday season working at Omaha Steaks.
Right now, we're hiring for seasonal positions in our warehouse and mailroom, and we're also hiring truck drivers. And all positions come with a great employee discount that you can use all year long. To view available job openings and to apply online, go to omahasteaks.com/jobs or text steaks at 22633 to apply today.
Guys, let's face it, there is a time when you just need to get out of the house, to have your own place, to be with the guys, or just a quiet, relaxing place for yourself. Well, Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge hears you loud and clear. Settle in. Escape to Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge for an incredible selection, plus premium cocktails, a knowledgeable, friendly staff, state-of-the-art humidor, and incredible lounge. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off I-680 at 48th Street.
I don't know if I'll get out to get
The hotline is powered by Lanahaw Nurseries, rooted in quality, unmatched value.
Make the right call, fans. The Roofery's at John Higgins Weather Guard.
It's
Unsportsmanlike conduct, emotional tug.
The 1620.
Let me know what you want to do.
Let's go.
Welcome back. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Also broadcasting today on 1620 The Zone TV. Just head to YouTube and search 1620 The Zone TV. Subscribe there. We go up multiple times a week. And today we are doing our entire show, and stay tuned for details going into 2022 because might have a little bit more content each and every day. Right now, though, we are going to welcome in a couple of brothers, native Nebraskans, Todd Munson and Troy Munson. If you missed it, an obituary went up over the weekend on the in the Hastings Tribune. HastingsTribune.com for Milton A. Munson, 73 years old, passed away a week ago today in Grand Island, former Hastings, Nebraska resident. And the thing that got a lot of attention when I stumbled upon it was the hilarious sentence in the second paragraph: in lieu of flowers, please place an irresponsibly large wager on Nebraska beating Iowa. Mentioned Nebraska multiple times later, including passing away during the bye week rather than having to watch any more losing, but at least he got to go out before they lost any other games. And long story short, we've done some really cool things, and we're going to talk about that right now with the Munson brothers as they are both now in Nebraska. Todd and Troy, thank you so much for joining Jack and I. How are you this afternoon?
Hey, we're doing great. Thanks for having us, and thank you for everything you've done on this. This is incredible. Troy just picked me up at Epley, and we've been laughing the whole way down I-80 about it. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been crazy on our end too. I wonder, just kind of going back to the obituary to start, and I imagine we're going to go in a lot of different places. Like writing that, I imagine it had to be therapeutic in a way. You certainly provided a lot of humor in a way. But did you ever think that this was going to blow up or become something, or was it more maybe for some laughs between you two and other friends and family members?
It really started, I did not think it would get the attention that it did at all, but really it started just with Troy and I. We talked for about an hour together, just what do we want to put in this, what do we want to do, because his sister asked if we'd write something, and we kind of agreed, well, if we're going to do this, we might as well be honest and give people a fair look at what his life was like and what our experience was with him. And then I think we talked for about an hour, and I wrote it up in maybe an hour and a half and showed it to my wife, who's the brains of the operation at our house. And she's like, this is really good. And then she's one of those people who can actually diagram sentences. Like, she paid attention in English class that way. And she's like, fix these and it's good to go. So I was like, all right. So,
tell us about the the bet part and the impetus for that, and what and I guess a little bit too about what your dad was like and why you put that in there.
Yeah, well, he was a big gambler. Like, there was no question about that, whether it was just any football, like pro or college, and definitely the horse track. And my brother Troy, he's got a really funny story that he shared about the Michigan-Colorado game in '94. Yeah, so he had a buddy of his call up to me when I was a day trader and pretend he was from Bally's Sportsbook, Las Vegas, Nevada, to tell me that I somehow won some competition, and if I gave the correct pick for Michigan, Colorado, that I'd win a Mustang convertible. So I told him Michigan was going to win, and obviously that was the Hail Mary game. I found out a couple years later my dad bet a couple thousand on Michigan because of what I told him. So he lost big on that Hail Mary, which is pretty crazy.
Todd Munson and Troy Munson joining us right now. The obituary that's been making the rounds over the last few days about their father, Milton Andrew Munson, who passed away last Tuesday. So, guys, I guess as we continue the conversation, when did you maybe realize, when did it start blowing up on your end? I know I stumbled upon it on Sunday, and so I sent out a tweet, and I think it was early afternoon, maybe late morning. I watched the games that day, and it's getting the retweets and the likes locally, but I thought it was in kind of the Husker sphere for a while. But later that night, I was actually calling a basketball game, and I looked down and I noticed that Spencer Hall, who covers college football in a very hilarious way, he had retweeted it, and that was when I kind of realized, oh boy, this is spreading maybe a little further than I expected it to. When did you guys start realizing this is maybe bigger than you ever expected it to be?
It was about the same time, and the first time I noticed it was like, oh, this could be something, is when a Twitter user who I know in real life by the name of Fake Kevin Kugler had sent me a tweet. He's like, hey, is this one of yours? And I awkwardly texted him. I'm like, hey, that's actually our dad, but I'm glad you saw that. And then that's since happened a couple of times, which has been crazy. And then even this morning, when I was waiting for my flight to come out here, a friend of Troy and I sent a screenshot of her phone where she got a push notification from CBS Sports. I'm like, this is just crazy, but hilarious. And it's really the kind of thing he would have gotten a kick out of. So just that all the degenerates of the sports world are rallying behind his cause,
Yeah.
He actually gave it to his sister, though, and I was a little concerned she might not want to use it. So we actually gave it to her, but she submitted it to the funeral home. And then that night I got a call from the funeral director who confirmed that I wanted to use that. He was a little amazed by it, but then once I said I did want to use it, he said it was the best obituary he had read in his 51 years there. So, yeah.
I'm interested, guys. I think one of the reasons this was compelling, I think to me, I think and to others as well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think there's a lot of people who have lost someone who I think, they associate, I lost my dad a few years ago, associate him with Husker sports. But I think you guys were also really honest in the obituary. And I think there are people who have lost people, and it's been kind of a mixed bag. There's some rough things, and there was some honesty that is therapeutic about it as well. Tell me how kind of your relationship with him and the things that he went through impacted this moment for you, and how you're feeling today, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're both in pretty good spirits today, and just basically with him, it was, we both got a glimpse of the traditional father and son things, but through his weird sort of not I don't want to call it weird, but like just through his lens of what he was going through, where, you know, if we go on a fishing trip with him to Lake McConaughey, it'd be the kind of thing where our mom would drop us off at his place Friday night. He'd make sure like we knew where Cinemax was on the cable lineup, and head to the bars and be out all night, but then be the first one up at 6 a.m. to go fishing, stuff like that. So it was always every weekend visit was like a mix of like really awesome things, and then Dad's got some things he needs to work out, and yeah, but it I don't know. Just looking back on it, it's like that's what our reality was. So why not just make the best of it and embrace the good times, and you know, sort of just be open and honest for all those people who were in similar situations. So I've had quite a few people reach out to me that way of having to deal with parents with similar mental health and addiction issues, and just seeing it out there openly has been, they've kind of said, refreshing a little bit.
Todd and Troy Munson joining us right now on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Yeah, you know, I mentioned at the outset of the interview, the beginning, you know, in lieu of flowers, please place an irresponsibly large wager on Nebraska beating Iowa. The very next paragraph mentions this season and how it proved to be too much to bear. And then it kind of gives some background on his life. You know, what happened, enlisted in the Air Force, you know, graduated from high school, I believe in the late 40s. And it kind of goes through that early portion. And then there's that paragraph. And I know it hit me, and I imagine it hit Jack as well. And it says around this time. And this, I love this, guys, because it was funny, you know, mainly because my normal co-host, John Bishop, he complains about the Penn State game in '82 all the time. But it's the next part of the sentence where it's like, oh, wow, we're maybe reading a different obituary. And I'll read from it now. It says, around the time the Huskers were jobbed by the refs against Penn State in 1982, the effects of bipolar disorder and addiction began to take hold on Milt and would profoundly affect him for the rest of his life. And so, like Jack, kind of once again, a long and meandering question for me. I liked the honesty there. I liked the sense of humor there. And you know, that was maybe the first time that I really realized, even beyond the hilarity of the early part, wow, this is a different obituary than maybe I have read before.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was, I chose Penn State. I actually thought about that one in a long time, whether it was Penn State or the Orange Bowl against Miami as the mile marker for when it happened. But it would have been right around that time when I was a kid where I started to realize things weren't exactly right with him, in a way that there was maybe a deeper issue rather than that guy who liked to go out with his softball team and tie one on a little bit, spend his weekends at the track with his young son. But no, I just also, just because he was such a Husker fan, that I felt it was good to connect it to an event that everyone knows in Husker lore, such as that. And I had so many friends reach out asking about that play, and they sent them the YouTube clip, and they were just like, "This is a travesty."
Do you have any idea how if he's a fan like me, if he was a fan like me, he's
blaming
frustrated right now, angry, all of those things. How's he been dealing with the losing lately, or how did he deal with the losing lately?
He would have like hated it, but even as a kid though, like he loved Steve Taylor, loved Mike Rozier, and for some reason this just sticks in my head, is he absolutely hated Dana Brinson for reasons I could not explain. But I once sat in a bar with him watching the Husker game, and he ranted for a half an hour nonstop about Dana Brinson. And Dana, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I had nothing to do with his opinion, but there is something about Dana Brinson that really set him off.
Guys, that was my dad and Mickey Joseph. Mickey Joseph, he hated how he carried the ball out front when he ran the option and said he was going to fumble it. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's something about Dana Brinson that my dad just did not like, but loved Tommy Frazier.
Todd and Troy Munson joining us right now. We've been talking about their late father, passed away a week ago, in the obituary that they wrote. And now I guess we get to, guys, the last 24 hours for us. We mentioned it going into the last commercial break. I talked about it at the very end of yesterday's show. We were off a little early yesterday, and I said, hey, you know, we want to do something. We want to put together some money and place a bet on Nebraska versus Iowa this weekend to honor this man. expecting maybe a few $100, close to $1,000 if we get lucky. By dinner time, it was over $1,000. I woke up this morning, it's at almost $5,000. Adding up now the total of the GoFundMe and of my Venmo, which is still getting money, even though I keep telling people not to send me money there anymore. We're close to $6,000 total. So I guess let's talk about this decision, because we are now donating most of it to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Central Nebraska, but we also will be placing a wager. Why did you guys decide ultimately to donate the majority of the funds to Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Nebraska?
Honestly, it's like to lay that big of a bet on Nebraska beating Iowa. Like, I don't want to say, you're lighting money on fire, but because who knows what Logan Smothers is going to do now that we finally get to see him.
Sure.
But it just seemed really irresponsible because that's such a, it's not an insignificant amount of money, and it could really help some people for the better. And my brother Troy and I decided it'd be really cool if we could help kids from our hometown. We both grew up in GI, and I was in the Big Brothers program until my big brother took me to see Rambo 2. So my mom's permission. And that's a story for another time. But yeah, we thought that'd be great, and we're definitely going to contribute.
Oh no, did we lose him?
Oh no!
All right, we're getting back on the phone.
We're gonna try to.
Oh my gosh, the Big Brother brought into.
Hey, Todd and Troy, you cut off right when you said we're gonna contribute.
Oh yeah, we're going to contribute to the wager portion, because I did have a gambler friend who placed his own $500 bet on his own Bravada account, say that for the true degenerates, that they need that action rather than the kids. And I don't want to say he was like full on like F them kids, but so we want to do that, but we also want to be responsible, because like when our dad would take us to the track as kids, he'd usually set us up with $50 for the day, and we could bet with it. And that was also kind of our meal money if we wanted to get, be like me and eat like 5 frozen malt cups at Water Park in an afternoon. But no, he'd always be like, here's $50. You want to gamble with it? Gamble with it. If you want to save it, you can save it. It's your money. And it was always such a tempting thing to like, just you play it safe and keep, leave the track halfway to getting the USS Flag aircraft carrier, G.I. Joe. Or you could be like, let's go, let's win the whole thing right now. And I told my brother that I'm still mad about my time. He and my dad went to the track solo, and he came home with the Transformers Omegatron playset, which is the most ridiculous Transformers that you could get. And that was all from his winnings at the track.
Omegatron was like the ultimate. It was like an entire city. It was like the Autobot city. That's
yeah, it was an electric train, this giant Autobot, like had a command center, and oh man, I was so mad.
Todd and Troy Munson joining us on Unsportsmanlike Conduct 1620. So, okay, guys. So, key question now a handicapping question though. Oh, we discussed this earlier in the show though. Do we go with the portion of this that we are doing? We are putting a wager down, but we're saving the vast majority of this for the donation. But we are doing the wager part of it. Do we go money line, or do we take the 1.5 that Nebraska's getting?
I would take money line for sure.
Good.
Great.
That's what it says in the obituary, right? Place it on Nebraska to win, not on Nebraska to cover. So I think we go, especially now that it's like 1-to-1 odds, plus 100.
Yeah, I agree. We don't want to be happy with a 1-point loss.
Yeah,
we'd be happy, but I'd rather win it the right way.
There does seem to be like a bit of irony if we put this money down on Nebraska to cover in this season of all seasons, like half the stadium cheering that they lost by 1 because it meant that the spread was covered.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
If Nebraska wins, guys, if Nebraska wins outright, how much credit is the Munson family going to take for this? And you're welcome to take as much as you want.
I don't think it will have anything to do with it, but in my heart and my mind, I'm gonna feel like it was something special. But so personally, I'll feel something. But
I'm gonna say we did it. By the way, I'm gonna say we did it.
Yeah,
so
if you guys won't take credit, Jack will. So
I'm good at taking credit.
you guys definitely take credit because you're the one you're the lead kicker type of moment that happens during the game, and maybe we can say that was our dad just giving a little extra help to the team when they needed it most.
Yes.
So.
Well, Todd and Troy Munson joining us right now. They wrote a great, hilarious, and touching and moving obituary for their late father who passed away a week ago today. We've been sharing the links all show long. We will continue to share them. The GoFundMe is up to $4,464, and I think there's like $1,300 right now in the Venmo as well. And guys, it always sucks when someone you care about passes away, but I'm happy that we have been able to I guess turn this into what it's become over the last few days. Thank you for joining us on the show, but also for letting us into your lives, if only for a couple of days. I know that our listeners have had a lot of fun with it, and obviously it seems like other people from around the country have as well.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. This is a good way to close out his chapter. So. Appreciate everything for sure.
For sure. Well, guys, take care. We will certainly continue talking offline as we set everything up.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Todd and Troy Munson joining us here on the program. Really, really incredible stuff.
That was great. That was man, so much to even unpack and talk about there too.
I know.
It's a unique but understandable situation, I think, for a lot of people.
I think so too. I pinned a tweet with the GoFundMe link if you would like to go donate there. As I mentioned, $4,464. That's where the money is at there. And then on the on my Venmo account, let me open it up real quick before we go to break. That number is sitting officially at $1,306.95. So we are approaching $6,000, and there's still, as you said earlier, 3 days before the game. 3 days before the game. All right, when we come back, we'll have a quickie. We are way, way behind clock, and we will welcome Steve Sipple onto the program in a few minutes as well. Jack Mitchell filling in today for John Bishop. I am Josh Peterson. It is Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on 1620 The Zone. But before we go to break, needed to remind you, Nick needs to be reminded that Thanksgiving is on a Thursday. I know I don't have to remind most of you that Thanksgiving is on a Thursday, but I did want to let you know that you can make this Thanksgiving more enjoyable than ever before, because if you have not joined FanDuel yet, now is the perfect chance to give it a try. Go there, download the app, go to the website, put in my promo code Josh162, and you can turn $5 into $150 on any of the Thursday Thanksgiving games, whether it's Detroit versus Chicago early, whether it's my Dallas Cowboys versus the Vegas Raiders in the mid-afternoon slot, or whether it's in primetime, Michael Saints versus Matt Schick's Buffalo Bills. Whatever it is, place a bet on any team to win the game. Folks, the Lions are garbage. Also, the Bears are kind of bad too, though, so I guess good luck there. But you can turn $5 into $150, and all you have to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today. Put in my promo code Josh162, and when you win, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. That's the FanDuel Sportsbook promo code Josh162. 21 plus and present in Iowa. New users only. $10 first deposit is required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus is $150. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
NFL Monday Night Football plays here on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, folks, is your concrete in need of repair? Kent Pavelka here to talk about your local concrete experts and a Best of Omaha winner, Everlevel Concrete Repair. They can completely restore and repair your concrete at a fraction of the price compared to replacement and offer long-term transferable warranties. I'm so glad I chose Everlevel for my driveway. There's a reason they're a Best of Omaha winner. Give them a call for your free inspection. That's Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel. Try saying that 3 times fast.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Over the past year, the Nebraska Strong Recovery Project has been working around the state to provide support to Nebraskans impacted by COVID-19. From educators and essential workers to farmers and factory workers. If you or someone you know needs crisis counseling and support, call the Rural Response Hotline at 1-800-464-0258 or the Nebraska Family Helpline at 1-888-866-8660. Together, we are Nebraska Strong.
It's the biggest bar night of the year, Thanksgiving Eve. And that means it's the best night to go to the Doghouse Saloon in downtown Waterloo. Grab your friends that are back and make memories at the Doghouse Saloon. Chad Lee will be performing all your favorites. And the best part? There's no cover charge. Just a good time with old friends. Come early, stay late, because all those memories with your friends are just too good not to stay late. The Doghouse Saloon, downtown Waterloo, your home for the holidays.
There isn't a better time to save than right now at all 42 Degrees locations during our annual Black Friday sale. With savings up to 75%, the most knowledgeable and friendly staff. Why are you waiting? Save on Kratom, CBD, pipes, vaporizers, candles, Delta, and a whole lot more. Are you looking for certified premium e-juice and bottles or disposables? Then come to the source and save up to 75% during our annual Black Friday sale by your mom's house.
This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
A DUI is everything you didn't prepare for. You did not save for it. You did not train for it. You did not go to school for it. You did not raise your family or buy a house or get a job for it. It is not your life goal or a dream come true. You have planned for everything in your life. You did not plan for a DUI. Get a ride. A DUI costs more
Come
than
with
you
me.
think.
I'm leaving at 5:40.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Yes. If you want to be there earlier,
Give us 22 minutes and we'll give you the sports world. Oh, hell, have our amplitude modulation streaming in your medulla all day. Be a 6A to 6P listener.
Can you figure that out, maybe?
To your ever-loving pals, the boys of 1620 The Zone.
I just said, can you figure that out, maybe?
Unsportsmanlike conduct is brought to you by Union Bank and
I have my
Trust.
card.
Now,
I
the
don't think
program.
you can get online. Because I got an email about it today.
Jack Mitchell with me. I'm Josh Peterson. John will be back tomorrow. By the way, we will be live out at the new movie theater ahead of Thanksgiving. ACX Cinema 12 plus. Looking forward to that. 6200 South 205th Street in Elkhorn for the program tomorrow. We know that this is one of those nights that a lot of people like getting out before the family comes into town or the family partakes in Thanksgiving, which is indeed on Thursday this year, Nick.
Josh, they have a 70-foot screen.
That sounds incredible.
It actually changed my life. The guy let me see it.
Nick will not be hanging out with us. He'll be watching movies throughout the program tomorrow. So,
Hopefully.
Yeah, come join us. We're looking forward to that. Email from Brian. If Nebraska beats Iowa, you must forever refer to everything in the Tri-Cities area as Central Nebraska in honor of Milt. If evil reigns, you continue your alternative geography facts. Sounds good to me. Not only will that mean a large donation to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska, but I will no longer be allowed to call it Western Nebraska. I'm in.
I think that's fair.
I'm in. Do it for Milt.
That's fair.
We just got another donation since the interview there, Jack. Really, it was during the break. $250 came in, so we're now at 4724 on the GoFundMe. So we're almost to $5,000 alone just on there. And that means that we are above $6,000 over the last. I mean, it's basically been 24 hours.
Does anyone have any idea of? And I'm not asking for thanks or anything, but does anyone know if Big Brothers Big Sisters Central Nebraska has any idea this is happening?
I was actually wondering the same thing earlier. I
like it better if they don't know.
That'd be awesome if they're like, "Wait, what? We're getting $5,000? What?"
Maybe they normally get, big $5,000 to $10,000 donations coming in the day after Thanksgiving, but we'll see. So we're going money line though. That's decided. Good. I'm happy with
I like that. That makes it because seriously, man, if it was plus 1.5 and Nebraska covers and we're like awkwardly cheering because it means that a really good donation is about to happen. Yes, that's cool. I'm very happy, but also I don't want to cheer for that. After this long slog of a season. This is what we need, man. We need a Nebraska win. 4-8.
Yes.
We were talking about 4 and Farron. This is even better than that. This is better than Mike Farron being right.
Yeah, no, I couldn't care less about that. But yes, just
look for Farron.
this is the moment. This is the moment. Beating the rival. And yes, I'm sorry. It's the rival. The bragging rights that come along with that. My personal bragging rights that I need so desperately with my in-laws and I haven't had for years. And then to add for Milt on top of it.
Yep.
Listen, it doesn't make us whole, but it does a lot. It starts the process. It begins the healing process right there.
Yep, it absolutely does. The tweet with all the information for the donation, it is shared, or it's pinned rather at the top of my Twitter account at Josh Tweederson. If you want to go check it out there, we decided to set a goal of $10,000 on the GoFundMe, so it'd be obviously incredibly cool if we could reach that, and certainly if we're able to get a Nebraska victory on Friday, that would help bring that number even closer. And if you are placing wagers, if you're saying, hey, I want to do what the obituary says, and that is place an actual wager, that's awesome. If you want to help us out and hopefully win that bet and donate, just send us a screenshot, send us a picture of your betting slip, and we will share it far and wide.
Yes,
we will
but do it responsibly. You don't have to do it irresponsibly. We have taken that burden away by crowdfunding everything and putting it together, so no one has to do that. And if you don't like any of that, just go ahead, like Josh said, go to the GoFundMe and you can just make the donation there.
Like, you remember the shirts after the 1994 season when after they beat Miami, they said unfinished business, but they crossed out the U and the N. This is kind of like that. We're crossing out the first I, or the first R in that I. It's now responsibly placing a large wager on Nebraska. And don't do anything that you can't afford to do. But if you want to place a larger than normal wager because you can afford it, that's perfully fine with us.
Responsibility in numbers. And frankly, and that's there's just a lot to get into about the conversation. I know we don't have time, but legal gambling is coming to Nebraska, right? Legal gambling is coming to Nebraska, and it is going to be something that people struggle with, and we need to be aware of that. We need to talk, and we need to realize the impact on that. So that's why Josh and I kind of felt like, we gotta. We got to be careful here, as Sipple would say. Right, exactly, and position this in a way that we can both kind of honor and have fun with the memory of Milton, the way that their sons remember them, but also be aware of the reality of that situation as well.
100%, couldn't agree more. Troy says amazing interview, and Matt, rather than saying 4 in Farron, says 4 in Munson.
Yes.
So there you go, 4 in Munson.
By the way, Milt chant going in Memorial Stadium.
Dude, I'm wondering if we're going to see any signs. Like, I'm wondering if we are going to see, and I will be there. I will be confirming tonight who I will be getting tickets from. But I will be there at the stadium, and I imagine my family will be there pretty early. So happy to walk around and
the whole stadium as the sun comes down.
Milt. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. By the way, Jack, speaking of money, holiday spending spree is here. Well, I was going to say you can win $15,000. I don't think you can because you're a part of the NRG family, but
no, we're coworkers.
Friends of the program can win $15,000 to $15,000 supersize your holiday. You can enter to win now at 1620thezone.com. Before we go to break, it is time for our hydration break as well. Been enjoying my water. What is Jack is drinking a Diet Mountain Dew right now. We're all staying hydrated here on the program. Of course, social is our hydration station. Drink well, stay late, be social. Perfect spot for after work happy hour or the last stop on a Saturday night or a Black Friday night after a Nebraska win over Iowa. Jack mentioned Steve Sipple. That is our next guest. He's going to join us when we return. We'll talk about Adrian Martinez, Nebraska's matchup with the Hawkeyes. I don't know if we'll talk about the Wisconsin game. It's one of those weird weeks where we're already moving forward. All that and more, though, coming up next with Sip. He's Jack. I'm Josh. More to come, 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. Looks like we're getting some major slowdown on L Street by JFK. West Center Street by 144th is seeing some heavy traffic. 80 and 680 are both free and clear, and Dodge Street has an average amount of traffic for this time in the afternoon. My name is Moose, and this has been your afternoon traffic report.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Continental Cellular.
Folks, Continental Cellular has the lowest price guarantee on iPhone screen repair. In fact, you can walk out with a brand new screen from just $35 down. Plus, you can get a free smartphone on the nation's largest network, only at Continental Cellular, located at 72nd and Farnham.
Do you know the signs of an opioid overdose? Talk to your physician and pharmacist about naloxone, a drug used to safely reverse an opioid overdose. I'm Dr. Rob Rhodes, a Nebraska family practice physician. Be Opie ready and download a free overdose support tool, the Opie Rescue app. Search Opie Ready for more information.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
At Famous Footwear, giving shoes as a gift this holiday is more than just finding the right fit. It's personal.
Hi, I'm looking for my teen who loves every color of the rainbow, as long as it's black.
Ah, a budding early 90s grunge star. I'm going to go with Doc Martens.
And my husband, who only cries during sports movies.
I like it. A man who's in touch with his emotions. How about Nike court sneakers?
Ooh, how about for my preschooler who draws on everything but paper?
Ooh, Crocs loaded with gibbets. Famous brands for the whole family. Stop by or visit famous.com.
It's the sound of the season. The bells are ringing at Salvation Army's iconic red kettles. You can find them at more than 100 locations around the metro. And this year, those kettles are taking more than just dollars and cents. All kettles have Venmo and PayPal functionality on them. So if you're going cashless nowadays, no problem. Just take out your smartphone and scan the QR code or bump the kettle sign to make a fast, secure digital donation. Remember, all donations stay local and help those in need. Thank you for your support.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
Here's an opportunity for business-to-business salespeople. NRG Media is looking for someone who gets excited about helping local businesses grow. Are you an idea person who can create and execute a plan? We should talk. At NRG Media, we create local marketing campaigns designed to meet a key challenge. On air, online, on-site, audio, video. It's all part of what you could do. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Business-to-business salespeople? Apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Trees, supplying oxygen, providing shelter, and reducing pollution. They're a symbol for life. Lanahaw Nurseries is the metro area's premier homegrown tree source. Leave a legacy that matters. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
Living in the Midwest, there's something we can always expect: storms and power outages. However, J-Tech Construction would like to show you how to transform your home to something that's less susceptible to outages and could even lower your electric bill. With solar cells and a battery backup, you'll never have to worry about losing power again. Plus, you could save money on future electric bills and get a 26% federal tax credit. Financing is available to qualified buyers. Use your favorite search engine to find J-Tech Construction and schedule a free estimate today.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
It'd be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
It would be nice to have a boat.
Throw.
From your mom.
The happy hour is on the air! Happy hour on this Tuesday. Thanks for joining us on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Jack and I have had a great time this afternoon. Just me again for now. He'll be back for a little bit in the final hour of the program. But it's mainly just me right now because we are about to welcome one of our ultimate friends to the program. That person, of course, is Steve Sipple.
Sipple the snowflake is
is one old triggered soul with reading glasses sitting on his nose and takes that really blow. Sipple the snowflake deserves a mouthpiece to the face. He says LeBron's the GOAT and Steph will choke. Then he runs to his safe space. Hey, we gotta be careful here. He tells us when we speak. But when 10 games air in a day, he thinks that's too many. Oh, Sipple the snowflake says words like mature. He's a blogger now and an honor too, and also really old.
He writes for the Lincoln Journal-Star, HuskerExtra.com. Also does a radio show with Jake Sorensen on 93.7 The Ticket. It is our good friend Steve Sipple who joins us this week on a Tuesday. What up, Sip?
You sound really subdued, and I didn't think you're going to play that song today because it's Wednesday. Or it's Tuesday.
Tuesday? No, I'm just a little under the weather is all, if that's why I sound a little subdued. I didn't mean to sound that way. I'm excited to talk to you.
Let's rev it up a little bit.
All right.
I'm sorry that you don't feel well.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, man. That's very kind of you. Let's rev it up, though.
I mean it.
What?
I mean it.
You mean what? We're revving it up, or I need to be happier?
No, that I appreciate that you're working through illness.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what? Here we go with the transition. I am playing through a much lesser injury, certainly, than Adrian Martinez has played through this year. But Adrian Martinez, that was the it's funny, man. You know, a couple weeks ago, after the loss to Ohio State, I realized by like Wednesday that there had never been a game in my time of covering this program that we talked about less the following week. And that was because that week, of course, we learned on Monday that Scott Frost was coming back. And then later that day, we learned that 4 assistant coaches had been fired. So it allowed us no time to even discuss the game in question. And I am honestly feeling the same way for different circumstances this week, where we've barely talked about the Wisconsin game, mainly because by the time I came on the air yesterday with Ravi, we had learned that Adrian Martinez's season was done at Nebraska. It's just been a strange season, but another strange moment in a strange season.
That's a good point. I mean, Nebraska played Ohio State well, played Wisconsin really well. I mean, and it's somewhat, I mean, let's be fair and honest, though. I mean, it's sort of the same conversation. It's the same conversation after Ohio State, the same conversation after Wisconsin. They get close. They're close against good teams. They play Ohio State really well. It was impressive. In some ways, it was really impressive, especially in the wake of what happened to Michigan State. But what's it all mean? I don't know. That's what I'm writing right now. I mean, the great debate will continue into the off season, which is, as I see it, the great debate is, you tell me if I'm wrong, is if there's a serious flaw in Frost's overall coaching acumen in his inability to get over the hump, get close but not get over, or I guess the other part is the program really close? And I don't know. I can't, I know you think I ride the fence and all that, but I don't really know. I can't say I know. I think the fact that I'm interested I'm really interested, and that tells me I think it must have a chance to get over the hump.
So then I would ask you this. The follow-up would be, what is the strongest data point for you on this is who they are, and that there won't be a come to Jesus type record of being really good? And what would be the biggest data point that you would use to say, actually, I do think that they're actually close and that they can, turn that into actual wins on the field in 2022? What's the biggest argument on both sides?
Well, I'll talk your language a little bit because I was pondering this today. What do they call it? The ESPN S&P Plus. Is that what it's called?
SP Plus, yeah. Bill Conley. Yeah.
Yeah. They're a top 30 offense and they're a top 30 defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're right near the bottom in special teams. So, I mean, the fact they're a top 30 offense and a top 30 defense, I've seen it. I mean, I've seen the defense perform well more regularly than the offense, but I mean, what they did Saturday, you can't really ignore. You just can't strike from the conversation what they did offensively against the top-ranked defense in the country. It's just, drags me back in my belief that Frost can get this thing going is special teams and offensive line. Those are the two areas that have really I've been writing since September 18th when they were at Oklahoma that I think the offensive line's dragging the program back. Now, then, it became pretty apparent that the special teams is also playing a pretty big role in that. And that's just a pure, that's on the head coach. There's really no other way to say it. You don't need to make that conversation more difficult than it is. That's on the head coach. If the special teams weren't emphasized for 3 years and now they tried to get it going and it's been sort of spotty, there's nobody more responsible for that than Frost.
Steve Sipple joining us on Unsportsmanlike Conduct on a rare Tuesday visit. Has Adrian Martinez played his last game at Nebraska?
Yeah, nobody knows. Here's what one of my family members was sort of needling me because I don't know. And I said, well, I'm not even sure Adrian knows. So why would I know? I know I'm extremely intelligent and I get things right most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
If he doesn't know, why would I know? And I don't know that Adrian knows. So that conversation is really complicated, right? Now it just got, the fact that Frost is hiring a new offensive coordinator complicated. Now we have an injury where what I've been told is it could be a 6-month recovery, which would mean no spring ball. And, it's pretty self-evident why that complicates the discussion. So kind of goes from there. I don't know what you're going to do.
Is it good for Nebraska if he comes back?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I think it's okay if you lay down the parameters and say, Adrian, we're going to have a new offensive coordinator with a new system and new language. You're going to have to learn new techniques, and the competition's open. We're probably going to bring in a quarterback, not two of them. So, if he can win the job under those circumstances. Now, I don't know how he's going to do it. If what I'm hearing is correct and he doesn't have a spring ball, I don't even like to talk about it. It's because there's so much conjecture and it's uncomfortable. I feel bad for Adrian. I just feel bad for him. So I don't like to. I almost feel like in discussing it in harsh terms or rubbing salt in the wounds. I don't want to do that. It's a heartbreaking injury for someone who's done so much for this place. I don't. Would it be good? I don't think it's necessarily bad. To have people like Adrian in your midst, I think there's a lot to be said for it. As long as he can understand that the landscape's changed quite a bit just by virtue of a new offensive coordinator coming in.
I think the thing, and I said this earlier, Sip, that sucks, and Steve Sipple joining us right now on a Sportsmanlike Conduct. The thing that really sucks is whatever you think about Adrian, good or bad, that we didn't know going into last Saturday that was his last game, and now it's over, and you don't get that moment because even we wouldn't have known this Friday. We're asking the same questions. Is this Adrian's last game? But, man, at least you get to say goodbye to him if it is. Whereas he might come out. I imagine he'll participate in the senior day stuff, but he won't have pads on. And so it'll just be so anticlimactic and in a way just very sad that you don't get that, especially a last moment at home in front of the crowd of him leaving the field in the fourth quarter, no matter what the score was going to be.
Yeah, it's cruel. Football's cruel, and this is an example of that. And I don't think you want to dwell on that. We all know it, and we all know that how life can be, and that's what's sort of happening here. So I don't think Adrian would look at it too negatively. Adrian sizes things up verbally well, and I imagine internally he understands what's going on. I don't want to diminish it. He's not a hard 55-year-old, So I don't know. I just regard it with mostly sadness.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from on that. I don't know. I think in some ways it's complicated because you're kind of referring to something that sounds like closure, and I'm not sure there's going to be closure.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like
do.
if he's done, we didn't know when his last game was. Like we didn't know going into Saturday that it was his last game. If his career at Nebraska has come to a close for whatever reason, we had no idea going into that game, and so he didn't get the pomp and circumstance that he would have gotten going into Friday, where if he's healthy, at least we're all acknowledging, hey, this could be it. So enjoy him the final time in Memorial Stadium. We're not even going to get that thing.
Right. And I think we sort of got to get used to that. The portal has complicated everything. Guys have, they go to 2 and 3 schools, and what's each day is going to evolve in a strange direction. I mean, it's already evolved in a strange direction in that we're maybe sending off juniors now, because we're sending off juniors on senior day because we don't know if they're going to be back. I mean, there's just a lot of weirdness. I don't know. I don't get too caught up in that senior day thing. I never have. So, and I'm sure not going to now because of the way college football's going.
Why do you think Frost announced the injury yesterday, given how he has, kept things so close to the vest? I mean, given especially how we talked about Adrian Martinez earlier this year, why do you think he announced it yesterday?
Because I think it would have been making a mockery of the whole thing if he tried to hide it.
Yeah.
To be blunt, I was already hearing about it.
I was going to say, I told the story on the air yesterday, and I'm happy your answer was this, because that was my exact response too. I was told about it about a half hour before the press conference, or maybe 45 minutes. I just didn't have a chance to confirm it with anybody else because we had a meeting at work. And so by the time that the press conference started, and he announced it, I was like, okay, well, there, it's official. And so I wondered if it was just the idea that it was probably going to spread anyway. Why try to keep it under wraps and not respond to it until Wednesday, if not even Friday?
Well, and it would have frankly been going against Scott's policy that he does tell the media about season-ending injuries, and this was a season ender. He did. He knew about it. So, yeah. I mean, I think it would have been really, really hard for him to keep that under wraps if Adrian's not practicing at all.
Sure.
If Adrian's standing in practice, just watching, and come on, everybody, you find stuff out.
Yeah. Steve Sipple joining us, HuskerExtra.com, Lincoln Journal-Star. So, Sip, looking ahead to Friday, I'm not going to ask you the question that I think I've asked you probably 3 or 4 times, and you've led your column off with it over the weekend about, like, can they keep it close again, or is this the weekend that the bottom finally falls out? But I guess what are you expecting with the offense? Because, at least if it was Adrian, we've seen the offense all year. We kind of know what to expect. Now, I don't. I thought that we were going to maybe see a lot more throwing again versus Iowa. Is that still in the cards with a true freshman quarterback, right? A true freshman quarterback, whatever year he is, making his first start.
Yeah, I call him a 2020 freshman, and Harburg's a 2021 freshman.
A true freshman.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think there has to be some grace given here. I mean, this is a freshman, a 2020 freshman, making his first start against a defense that has 11 different guys that have made interceptions. Am I throwing it down the field? And I asked Frost that on Monday. Can you use that same sort of pass-heavy, aggressive attack that you used against Wisconsin? Can you do that against Iowa? And, he didn't address it because it probably was a dumb question. And he was smart enough not to answer it. I don't, but I mean, come on. What would you really do that?
No.
Would you go down the field on the first play?
Hell no.
With I mean, I think they're going to have to be, I guess, creative, but as creative as you can be under the circumstances. So limited. I don't know what that game plan is going to look like. I just don't think it's going to. I don't think it'd be. Let's put it this way. I'm not sure it would be fair to Logan Smothers to make a game plan like you saw against Wisconsin. I mean, I don't think he's ready for that. He's not a 4th-year starter. He's a first game starter. And I think it underscores Adrian's value. I get that whole polarizing Adrian discussion, but I mean, I understand it. I understand why it's polarizing, but There's not that many quarterbacks that you could go into a Wisconsin game like that and say, okay, we're going to throw it down the field a lot. We're going to throw it half the time. A lot of it's going to be down the field. That's indicative of a fair amount of talent by the quarterback.
Sip, what food item are you most excited to eat on Thursday?
Oh, I mean, it's not even close. I like, I really like white meat turkey with cranberry spread all over it.
White meat turkey?
Great take, Sip.
Yeah, with a lot of pepper and some salt. Although Trix tries to put the kibosh on my salt. I love salt.
You're getting old. Yeah, it's dangerous for you.
Yeah, no, it's not. And here I am, and so that, and I would say that's pretty. I like pumpkin pie with Cool Whip.
Okay.
So that with a lot of cold Cool Whip, refrigerated Cool Whip.
Sure.
So those are the two things. What about you?
Look, I'm always getting excited for the mashed potatoes. My grandpa does a mean bone-in ham that is really tasty. Okay. And then I think turkey is mostly garbage, but if I'm going to have turkey, I'll have the dark meat.
Yeah, what do you got against turkey? I don't quite understand.
It's just not as good as chicken. It's not as good as fried chicken. So why would I want to eat the less superior bird?
I don't know. I mean, I'll eat it year round, so we definitely have a disagreement.
Like you'll have like a turkey drumstick in May.
I wouldn't turn it down.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sip,
I don't actively buy it. But
okay. Yeah, you're not going to like a turkey restaurant. Do they have turkey restaurants? They have fried chicken restaurants. They don't have turkey restaurants, though.
Well, I mean, I think you're getting into a whole subject that neither of us are versed on. So I don't know. And there's probably not as many turkeys to be had as chickens. Well, in fact, I know there's not.
I'm going to read a text, Sip, from a mutual acquaintance that we have, a mutual friend, unnamed, says, how do you say you are the whitest person in America without saying it? I like white meat turkey.
Well, I don't like dark meat. That's what it.
So you're not in on the fried chicken thighs? Oh man.
No, I'm chicken. I'm white meat chicken.
You're a breast guy.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, that's it. Well, Sip, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. What was that?
I think we handled that okay.
Yeah, were you expecting a fight today? You seemed like you were ready to battle.
No, I was not ready to battle. I was worried about just that we might get inappropriate with that discussion.
Oh, with the breast stuff? No. I'm not an inappropriate person. I don't know where you would gather that from me.
Oh, you're not.
No,
you're not at all.
Never once. I'm above board. Hey, I'm 33 now. I'm mature.
I'm
69.
I wasn't. I wasn't hoping for a fight at all.
Okay, I couldn't tell. I didn't know if you just wanted to argue today. We could have argued. We have plenty of time in the off season.
Yes, we can argue. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Josh. I hope you get better. That's the main.
Thank you, especially with Thanksgiving 2 days away. I'm not trying to be sick on Thanksgiving.
Just maybe get some rest.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't do. Like, oh, hey, I don't feel very well. I'm still working out all the time like a moron. He is Steve Sipple, Lincoln Journal Star, HuskerExtra.com, and 93.7 The Ticket. He does a show with young Jake Sorensen. Sip, happy Thanksgiving. We will talk to you next Monday.
God bless you. Take care.
God bless you. Steve Sipple, a treasure. Riley says, Sip saying, and here I am to declare victory over salt is the funniest thing I've heard all day. That was really good. That was really, really good. All right, when we return, Jack Mitchell is going to join us, I believe, for one more segment. I have the wildest yet plausible college football playoff scenario. Ahead of tonight's standings, we're not going to pick who's going to be where, because in a way, who kind of cares? My hot take, I will give you a hot take, is that Michigan is actually going to be ahead of Cincinnati. But it doesn't matter because they're playing Ohio State. That game can't end in a tie. But when we return, a wild yet plausible college football playoff scenario that I honestly think would prove Dan Patrick right and give us an expanded CFP as soon as next season. I will tell you how such a scenario happens, and we will see if Jack Mitchell is in on this idea as well. We will do this next on 1620 The Zone.
11th from noon to 6 at Westwood Plaza on 123rd and Center. Help families in need this holiday season by donating a new unwrapped toy for a child to open Christmas morning. All the info at 1620thezone.com. It's Stuff the Truck to benefit Toys for Tots with Westwood Plaza, Werner Enterprises, and 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
What a day with a record high temperature in the upper 60s here late this afternoon in the Omaha Metro. Skies are going to cloud over tonight. Low temperatures drop back in the lower 40s and then mainly cloudy on Wednesday. Highs in the low 50s. I am Chief Meteorologist Bill Ranby from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct, brought to you by a great friend of the program, Union Bank and Trust.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burton, AC Heating, Plumbing, and More, time-saving traffic center. West Center Street has heavy congestion going on right now. L Street is not looking too bad. There's a ton of slowdown happening right now by the 80 and 680 connector. Dodge Street by 72nd has some congestion going on, and it looks like JFK is all green from here. My name is Conrad, and this has been your afternoon traffic report.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
The thing about holiday shopping online is you never know when they'll show up. Saul's has gifts for the whole family in stock and ready to check off your holiday list. Right now, up to 50% off all jewelry. Get your holiday shopping done for the whole family, and don't stress about shipping. Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email Severe and Binning on the Equitable Bank inbox with your love, your hate, or your hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally and answer the phone on the first ring.
I'm Jesse, and I'm a proud member of the Signature Performance team. My Signature story began 4 years ago when I joined the Finance and Accounting Department. I've had the chance to work with leaders from all over the company on high-profile projects where I've truly been able to make an impact in the healthcare industry. The enthusiasm my team has is contagious, and we know the work we're doing is making a difference in healthcare.
Start your signature story. Apply today at signatureperformance.com/careers.
Elite Sportsbook has you covered with $70 in free bets available on select days in November. Go long with a $25 football wager and receive an easy $10 free bet. Spread the board with three $50 college football wagers and receive a $20 free bet. Plus, new members receive their first bet risk-free up to $500. Download the app and play your game with Elite Sportsbook.
Valid only in Iowa. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF. Hey, football fans, say Fan Zone into your Contour Voice remote and enhance your game day experience all week long. Play games, win prizes, Cox. We're fans 24/7.
Finally venturing out? Stop by Cops Pizza, 72nd and Jones of the Shadow Lake Town Center to grab a bite, have a beverage, and watch the game. Cops Pizza makes delicious pizza, fresh salads, and tasty charred wings with a variety of homemade sauces. They even offer keto crusts. Or try a cream cheese pizza sauce. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cops Pizza, 72nd and Jones, and the Shadow Lake Town Center. Or click copspizza.com to see their extensive Shadow Lake menu, pizza, and so much more.
Trees, supplying oxygen, providing shelter, and reducing pollution. They're a symbol for life. Lanahaw Nurseries is the metro area's premier homegrown tree source. Leave a legacy that matters. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lanahaw Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
You're listening to Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
See, we just went too deep, but that was enough to get me.
Of 1620 The Zone.
Welcome back on Sportsmanlike Conduct, 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. We're still up on 1620 The Zone TV. Jack Mitchell rejoins us here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Jack, the number on GoFundMe right now, I'm refreshing, $4,724. We are north of $6,000 total that has been donated as we get prepared to bet on Nebraska to beat Iowa on Friday. Absolutely.
Let's get $5,000 by tonight. I mean, I think that's fair. $5,000 by the time we wake up tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah. I think that is very much in the cards. All right. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I get enough bad sports takes from Sipple. I don't need bad food takes too. So.
Oh my gosh, dude. What in the world? His favorite thing. He's excited for white meat turkey.
And then slathering fruit on it.
Gross. Yeah. Get this. During the commercial break, one Nick Grimm was like, yeah, I'm with Sipple. It's like, okay, well,
turkey's good.
Bad take.
Not a bad
But you have ham for Thanksgiving, so I don't know that you're any better.
Hey, if I could choose now, my grandpa's bone and ham is very delicious. I have been trying to get the family to go away from the traditional Thanksgiving foods. Last year, now this was because of COVID and we weren't hanging out with family anymore. Girlfriend, her sister, and I, we had fried chicken, homemade fried chicken on Thanksgiving.
Much better.
It was so good, so good.
By the way, your grandpa's ham sounds great for lunch on a random Tuesday. Not
it does.
For Thanksgiving.
It does. And I forget, do you actually do something different or do you do the normal Thanksgiving?
No, I don't normally. I've got too many people, too many traditionalists around me. I can't.
Sad.
I can't flip it and make ribs like I want to, but
yeah. Well, hey, dare to dream. Someday you will be the elder and maybe you can control things a little bit more.
Be the change, Jack.
Be the change indeed. All right. I teased it going into break. I have a wild yet plausible college football playoff scenario. I'm wondering if this will get you excited for things.
Okay.
So we'll see. All right. We begin with rivalry week. Here's the scenario. Oregon beats Oregon State. I decided not to do the whole weird, Washington State can still win the Pac-12 North. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
No.
They can still win it. They really don't need that much help. Oregon State wins. Washington State wins the Apple Cup. Boom. There you go. Washington State gets the tiebreaker. But I just decided to be pretty basic. Oregon beats Oregon State. Thus, we will have a rematch of Oregon versus Utah in the Pac-12 title game. Also, in rivalry weekend, run through a couple Big Ten games. Michigan pulls off the upset. Biggest win of the Jim Harbaugh era. They go to 11-1. They win the Big Ten East by defeating Ohio State. Also in the Big Ten, Wisconsin knocks off Minnesota. Thus, we get a rematch of a game from October, Michigan versus Wisconsin for the Big Ten championship. In the SEC, now Georgia, they're playing Georgia Tech. They've already locked up the East. They win. Alabama also wins. So we get Bama versus Georgia for the SEC championship.
So far, nothing crazy that you
nothing crazy outside of Michigan pulling off an upset.
That's crazy. I don't think that's crazy.
That would be so much fun. Cincinnati, they win. They go undefeated. Awesome. They're playing Houston in the AAC championship game. And they remain undefeated and that's the important part of this discussion. And then a couple more games. Notre Dame beats Stanford, so they move to 11-1. Congratulations. That's definitely not an upset. And in Bedlam, Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State. So that means we would get a rematch of Bedlam literally a week later between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So here we go.
Conference championship games are the worst. They're the dumbest. Get rid of them. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Out on conference championship games. Speaking of conference championship games, let's get to the ones that actually matter. AKA, we're not talking about the ACC in this discussion. In the Pac-12 championship game, Oregon upends Utah. They win the league at 11-2. Congratulations, Oregon. You get revenge, but you're probably out of the playoff. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State, 2-loss Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma, so they get revenge. Both of those teams then are sitting at 11-2. In the AAC, Cincinnati beats Houston. Cool, congratulations. They're 13-0. And now here's where it gets a little funky. Bama beats Georgia, which I don't think is going to happen, but Alabama beats Georgia. They move to 12-1, and they are a champ, and Georgia is also 12-1, but they are the runner-up. And then the coup de grace, if you will, Wisconsin pulls off the upset. They get revenge. Their defense has been playing so well. They are a 10-3 Big Ten champion, I guess, before the Nebraska game. Their defense was playing well before last week. So you got a couple of 2-loss champs. You got a 3-loss champ in the Power 5, maybe a couple 3-loss champs in the Power 5. You have Cincinnati. You have 1-loss Bama, Georgia, and Notre Dame. Am I insane to think that the top 4 then would be in this scenario? Bama, Georgia, Cincy, Notre Dame. Where am I wrong? I thought of this last night before I went to bed, but I wasn't going to pull out my phone and Google and check. I was like, I think that this scenario, which is not that insane. I mean, that would be quite the money line parlay. It's not that ridiculous though, right?
No, you had me probably on every result as being not far from 50-50 plausible until the Wisconsin thing. But
so that's the only part of this, the whole discussion that you're like, that's way too difficult to happen.
I mean, it's not, that's the furthest one, but
isn't that crazy?
Michigan beating Ohio State would be an upset, but frankly, I'm kind of going into that one. Like, I would think about taking Michigan in that one.
Yeah. So think about this, Jack. This would mean one power conference gets 2 teams in, and that's it. So the other power 5 conferences, other 4 leagues, they don't get any teams in. A group of 5 teams, Cincinnati, and then an independent Notre Dame. They would expand the playoff next Sunday. They'd be like, hey, here's our top 4. Also, we're announcing a top 12 for next year. Congratulations.
Great.
Have fun, everybody.
Great. Fine. That's fine. I'd sacrifice. Look, that's not any less interesting than the playoff already is, already, to be honest. So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, if we get Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma, it's no skin off my nose at this point. That's good. That'll be interesting to track. I don't think that is not crazy. Like normally I thought there was going to be something a lot more wacky than that, but there's a lot of those where it's the upset where I'm kind of like, yeah, like if Oregon took on Utah again.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that wouldn't be that nuts. And
won that game, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that got stumped. Somebody who literally just texted me while he was waiting on hold, and it says on the call screener he wants to talk to Jack. It's our good friend Michael Severe. Hello, Michael.
Oh, geez.
Hello, Josh. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to thank Jack for this entire year of sponsoring our birthday game. We appreciate Jack Mitchell sponsoring the birthday game. It's been a glorious birthday game. I know he appreciates it so much. So I just wanted to thank him personally for doing that.
It means a lot. Obviously, I think it's a great segment. It's something I tune in for all the time. And I hear the quality. I'm like, I've got to get just fiscally invested in that kind of radio. And so, I put my money where my mouth is. It's good stuff.
I appreciate that. I also love your take on ham. We are mutually agreeing on ham. If there's anything worse than turkey, it's a big, giant ham on the table that has a bunch of leftovers and is only good for the bone to make soup the next day. I am with you on ham.
We're like the same person. This is amazing.
We're pretty close. I mean, the hair's almost identical.
Right.
A lot of gray in the beard.
Every day.
Yeah.
A lot of gray in the beard. I don't dance as good as Jack.
No.
But other than that, it's pretty close.
Yeah, you don't. That's certainly true. This is why Michael and I could never do a show together. It'd be like yin and yin.
Agreeing?
It'd be yin and yin. Same thing. It'd be just like take, agree, take, agree, take, agree. It's just not good radio.
I'm not even joking. I would stab you in the neck if we did a show together in like 5 minutes. It would be so ugly.
5 minutes?
It would not be good.
That's funny because I don't have a temper at all, and I never argue. So.
Oh, yeah. Never. I would accidentally say something bad about 2001 Nebraska, Colorado, and you'd be at my throat, and we'd just be fighting.
I think
By the way, Michael, you texted me. You said Oklahoma State. You think they would upset the chaos scenario that I present? You think they'd make it in over Notre Dame or Cincinnati?
Well, I think Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma this week in Bedlam, and then they turn around and probably have to play Oklahoma again. If they beat them twice, Oklahoma State's going to be sitting probably at 6 tonight, right?
Yep.
They could easily sneak in there if everything that said what you said. Easily in there. And they have one of the top 5 defenses in the country, which is good for the analytics part of it. I think they could be.
I think they're in at 12-1. I don't think they're in, though, at 11-2.
Yeah, they have to beat Oklahoma. And I don't even know if Oklahoma loses, they're automatically in.
If Oklahoma loses and Baylor wins, Baylor's in.
Baylor gets in. So that would even be better because then Baylor would be higher ranked than Oklahoma probably in that scenario. So it'd be probably better for them to play Baylor.
Yeah.
So I think Oklahoma State's the only thing that messes up your scenario.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. Yep. It doesn't seem that difficult to get. I think Cincinnati's in as long as they win out. I really do.
Hey, Michael.
I'm cheering so hard against Cincinnati getting in. I'm sorry. I'm a hater.
Real quick, Michael. Hopefully he'll be in a really good mood tomorrow. So you can tell your co-host I'm never sharing anything with him again.
Well, neither one of us are working tomorrow. I'm doing Big Red wrap up, and he is taking a day off because of the game tonight.
Sad. All right. Well,
who's doing the show tomorrow?
Burrs is doing the show from Paisan. Tomorrow. Yeah. So we were trying to figure out a way to do it because we were going to have Jonesboro's live tomorrow. That's why we moved Jonesboro's today because we weren't going to be able to do the show tomorrow. Because I take Big Red wrap up at 9:00 this week every week because of the games.
So will he still do the birthday game or no?
Burrs, I don't know. I will send him the birthdays. He could ask himself.
That sounds great.
It was with himself.
That sounds great. That sounds really good.
Yes, I don't know. 63. Oh, I missed it. Darn it.
Is it him and Chance? Chance back at the studio?
Chance is back in the studio. You know, you laugh, Jack, about that game. When we do it out at Jonesboro's, everybody that's in the restaurant comes over and listens and guesses while it's going on. It is fascinating to watch.
It's why you guys are number one. It's why you guys are number one. There's no doubt about it.
I feel like you guys are going to murder each other on the air right now. I'm starting to get uncomfortable. It's a weird vibe.
Don't get uncomfortable, Josh. Me and Jack, one day we'll do a show together. It'll be like in a podcast called Jack and Michael, something like that.
Dude, it will make bank. Let's do it.
Hey, we did the 3-man weep with all three of us that one time when Jack had a podcast for 10 episodes.
That was really fun. Telling those stories from back in the day was hilarious. I have a friend or a student who is writing a story on Kevin Kugler that's coming out very soon. That's 2,700 words.
Oh my gosh.
And it is the complete history of Kevin Kugler as a broadcaster. I will send it around once he produces it. It has got everything in it, Josh. It is amazing. I've read over it. You're gonna love it.
I'm talking to the author of the story tomorrow.
Good. So, no, oh my God. So it'll be like 3,500 words.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait till my quotes get in there.
Oh, great. That's gonna be awesome. Yeah. I'm not editing that. No.
All right, Michael. Well, if we don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy not eating the white meat turkey.
I will enjoy it, Jack. Love you, buddy. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Hey, there's a reason they call you the greatest. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, Michael.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Oh, that is Michael Severe, not on Severe and Benning in the morning. All right. You love the birthday game.
I told Damon Benning at Mike Schaefer's. Let me tell you this real quick. Let me tell you the story. Because nobody tell Damon Benning anything in confidence ever again. I was at Mike Schaefer's wedding. We were talking about the show, and I was like, I like listening to you guys, but when I get off work, I turn you on, and I'm ready to hear Husker football after talking news and stuff all day. And I turn on, it's the birthday game every time. Every time it's a birthday game. And I want my takes. I want my Michael takes. They're so good. And I don't get them, the Michael takes on things.
You get the Michael birthday takes.
I get Michael birthday game. I used to play that game with Bishop. I know all those birthdays. I don't, it's fine. And
Socrates, I don't care about no Socrates birthday. That's what Jack said.
And Damon, I don't know if he sat down and immediately texted Michael, Jack doesn't like the birthday game, or what happened with this. I returned to the table to go talk to you, I think, before I started dancing. And
you were getting yelled at already?
And now it's sort of the, it's the talk of the town.
Wow.
I mean, it's great radio. I mean, let's not joke ourselves.
Yeah. I have no takes on birthdays. None. I'm in my 30s now. I don't care about birthdays anymore.
You and John should add it. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, well, they already do it in the morning. It'd be,
so good, though.
It's
so
like
good.
You don't want to repeat a guest. Like we don't have Sipple on Thursdays because they have Sipple on Thursdays.
That's like something's highly successful. You spin it off.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it was a food show, when we return, you and I know. You're going goodbye now, right? You're leaving us?
I got to get to, we got the kickoff of high school basketball season. So I'm going to see, shout out, I think, Omaha Central and maybe Omaha North. I'm going to see one of these deals where they scrimmage the teams and see my Lincoln East Spartans here. And I've got kind of a vested interest in that team. So they got the Jamborees tonight. So I got to get there. And then I'm going to see Nebraska ball get a dub.
That's right. They're playing tonight. We're going to talk about them actually in What You Say, and we're going to do What You Say when we return. Jack, thank you so much for filling in today. We appreciate it. Bye-bye. That's Jack Mitchell joining us. He usually is a Monday guest. He'll be back on Monday at 2:45. All right, we'll come back. What You Say? We got Bet of the Day as well. Also wanted to remind you, 1620 The Zone Westwood Plaza presents Stop the Truck, benefiting Toys for Tots. It's coming up Friday, December the 10th, and Saturday, December the 11th, 3 to 6 on Friday, noon to 6 on Saturday. Nick and I will be there in the early portion on Saturday. New and unwrapped toys to help kids in our community have a gift on Christmas morning. You can donate those 2 days. Head to 1620thezone.com for the deets. Welcome back on Sportsmanlike Conduct here on 1620 The Zone. I did want to read a quick comment on the YouTube page. Does Cincy pull a UCF if they go undefeated, get snubbed, and win their bowl game? Jordan asking, will they claim themselves national champions? Jordan, I will say no, and mainly because there was quite the large backlash for UCF. I'm going to guess that their program wouldn't really want to deal with that. That said, and then I guaranteed it yesterday, and if I'm wrong, I have to eat 10 olives, and 5 of them will be dipped in blue cheese, which is disgusting.
Yum, yum.
As long as Cincy goes undefeated, they are making the college football playoff. Everything has happened in front of them that needs to happen. If they're not in the top 4 tonight, it's not that big of a deal because the 5th or the 4th team tonight is, in my opinion, going to be Michigan. But if it's not Michigan, it's going to be Cincinnati. That game's going to take care of itself. And I really think even if Alabama beats Georgia, I think that they're good to go. I think that enough has happened around them, behind and in front, where they are going to make the college football playoff if they finish 13-0. So I don't even think that they will have to claim themselves national champs. All right, it's time for What You Say. Nick.
Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Jason Garrett has been fired. What are your thoughts?
I told everybody that this was going to happen. I remember a couple of years ago when Dallas fired him, but it took like a week for it to happen for some stupid reason. And then the Giants hired him. John Bishop, my friend, my coworker, tried to convince me, he's going to be good there because, it was Dallas that was keeping him down. No, it's not Dallas that's keeping them down. I'm very sad that he got fired because I've enjoyed the Giants being terrible. And I'm worried that Joe Judge now, not long after, is also going to be fired. I love this era of New York Giants football. They are horrible. I don't have to worry about them. I'm sad that they might end up moving on from a lot of these coaches in the near future. And then depending on who they bring in, I could have to worry about them again. Sad.
Sorry you have to worry about the Giants, Josh.
Eventually, maybe. Not this year, though.
Friends, it's time you sit down because I have some bad news. According to Football Outsiders, the Patriots are now Super Bowl favorites. It's not going to happen, right, Josh?
We talked about this kind of very topic a couple of weeks ago, and this was in the midst of their run that they have sadly continued on. No, they are not going to win the Super Bowl. And I know this has been a strange year, and lately all we do is talk about how different it is and how nobody can remain good, blah, blah, blah. Dallas has gotten basically blown out in 2 of the last 3 games that they've played in. The Bucs, they did get a victory last night, but that was coming off of a bad loss to Washington last week. The Packers, they've had their ups and downs. We've seen a lot of these teams struggle, but no, the Patriots are not going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to guarantee it because I don't want to have to pay up on a bet.
No, please guarantee it.
No, they're not the best
Get
team.
the X.
They're not the best
Get
team.
the X.
They're not the best team in the NFL. We'll be fine. Everybody, we're going to be okay. Now, the Cowboys could win, and that will make everybody really mad, but at least it won't be the Patriots.
How would you describe what Kyle Kuzma wore last night?
How would you describe it? Have you clicked on the video? Click on the link, Nick.
Let me click on that link.
He's wearing a sweater. I mean, it looks like a sweater for a giant. Look at the arms. What is happening? Why would he do that? I will retweet it right now at Josh Tweeters.
Amazing.
I don't know why he did that.
I love that.
It's very weird.
It's
also
called style, Josh.
Is
Look
that
it up.
I'll retweet it at USC 6020. Yes, that is certainly a style. The style that he's looking for.
Also a vibe.
Congrats to him, man. Like he did this. He knew that people were going to talk about it. Also, how did he drive going over?
So he could roll up the sleevesies.
Probably. So if you're missing it, the sleeves. See, Nick, and when he walks through the door, it looks like he's already starting to adjust the sleeves. He knows what he's doing. What a weirdo. If you're missing it, he's wearing sleeves that are basically hanging down to his knees. Like his hands aren't even. His hands there's 2 more feet of cloth.
So you think he's only doing it for attention?
Yes, he's doing it for the memes.
Wow.
Props to him for doing it for the memes.
What if that's just how he likes to dress, Josh?
I've seen him before. He doesn't like to dress with sweaters that are this big.
Maybe be more open-minded. How about that?
Maybe I'll try to be more open-minded.
According to something called Patch.com, Matt Nagy is coaching his last game for the Bears this weekend. If true, good move.
Yeah, I mean, that guy, you want to talk about peaking early. He peaked in year 1. He peaked back in 2018, and they were a fun team. They took the league by storm. If I remember right, they went 12-4 on the season. They were awesome that year. They beat some really good teams late in the regular season, including the Rams. And then what happened? They played the Eagles in Chicago in the first round of the playoffs, and they missed a field goal because it double doinked. It hit the crossbar, and then it hit the upright, and then it hit the crossbar. the ultimate double doink. They have been bad since they made the playoffs last year, but I don't think he's a good head coach. He's a really good offensive mind. I think that some of the things that he did was very cool. But yeah, if true, is this a good move? Probably. I mean, look, they're the Bears. They're like barely ever good.
Nice.
Somehow being a Bears fan seems more,
ever good.
Seems more well done. Seems more depressing than being a Cowboys fan in my lifetime. At least since I've been, watching the Cowboys. They have made more Super Bowls than Dallas. They've made one. But being a Bears fan seems pretty miserable otherwise.
Nebraska ball is a 16.5-point favorite tonight over Tennessee State. Do they cover?
Hell yes, they cover. They're on a nice little tear right now since the bad loss to Creighton. They've won 2 in a row. Yeah, sure. Why not? Jack's going to be in attendance, and nothing bad has ever befallen our friend Jack Mitchell. Huskers get it done.
The best fried chicken in the land, Popeyes, of course, has gone abroad. What's her name? Popeyes is now in London. It looks like a scone, but it doesn't taste like... Sorry. It looks like a scone, but it doesn't taste like one. Do Londoners deserve our delicious chicken?
That was actually how they described the biscuits, which, if you know what people in England call biscuits, it's a whole other thing.
It's like a cookie.
Biscuits are cookies.
It's for tea.
And so they debate. I read this story in the New York Times. They debated, should we call it a biscuit or should we call it something else? They ultimately decided biscuit because they wanted to go with the regional flavor of Popeyes, in America. And so they decided to do that. Do they deserve it? Yes, of course. I want everybody to try the deliciousness that is Popeyes. They've had KFC before. I feel horrible for them. I don't want them to have garbage KFC. I want them to have delicious Popeyes. So very excited for Ted Lasso and the rest of the gang. I hope that they're able to work this into season 3. This is great news for everybody in foggy London town. Congratulations.
Quick KFC sidebar. Have I told you the KFC in Japan story?
I don't know.
In the 60s, a Japanese businessman, while trying to get KFC to go to Japan, started advertising it as the thing Americans eat on Christmas Day. So now in Japan, every Christmas, it's tradition for families to get big buckets of KFC.
It's too bad that it's KFC, but I like the tradition of having fried chicken on a holiday like that. That sounds like a lot more fun than eating boring turkey. See, and that's the other thing about turkey too, Nick. It's not just, if we had it just for Thanksgiving, okay, fine. Now, let me read this tweet real fast that I have saved from Oliver. He says, how often do you or your family buy a whole turkey, Nick? It's once a year because nobody really wants turkey more than that ever.
Because prepping turkey is insane. Prepping a whole turkey is insane. But I'll buy turkey, shaved turkey, from the deli.
That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about, the full bird.
No one's going to buy the full bird just normally.
But here's the other thing that
How many times do people buy the full ham?
A lot. If you're having a bone-in ham, a lot. I don't know how much people. But here's the problem with it. It's not just that you have it for Thanksgiving or that you have it for Christmas. It's that my family has it for both. I'm not trying to have it 2 holidays in a row. They're a month apart. Give me something different. Especially this year, Nick. Thanksgiving's on November 25th. People forget Christmas, December 25th.
Oh, is that a Thursday this year?
It's actually a Saturday this year.
Thanksgiving?
No, Christmas.
The producer of the upcoming Mario movie says Chris Pratt won't be using Mario's usual accent. Oh, no.
I'm a little worried. He also said that his chosen voice is phenomenal.
Really?
Nick, I'm getting a little worried about this.
It's not that hard to do a Mario impression.
It's me, a Mario.
Whoa. Let's go.
Are you going to get canceled?
I hope not. It's Mario.
Folks, I think I just got an email. Yep, here it is. Nick
all right.
Has been canceled.
Well, it was nice being your producer.
I had a good time with you, too.
Oh.
All right, that's what you say. And now I'm craving Popeyes. I had Popeyes recently. I had it after overreaction on Saturday night. I had some leftovers, had the rest of it on Sunday for lunch. Now I'm craving it again.
Excited to get one thing and then order one thing and get something else completely.
They actually got my order right because that's what Popeyes does when I order.
Every time?
Not every time, but they did on Saturday.
Are you batting 500 there, Josh?
No, I'd say honestly, I'm probably batting 800. I'm doing pretty well lately.
Oh,
I'm having a nice stretch. The last time they actually screwed up my order, I just got more food. Same price, more food.
We should start doing Popeye's bet of the day.
That would be a whole lot of fun. Speaking of bet of the day, that comes up next. We will give you our picks for tonight, and then we move on. How about Creighton helping me yesterday with the bet of the day? They get a game winner, and so my bet of the day, the Bucks they won easily, so I wasn't worried about that. But Creighton with the game-winning shot, that helps me clinch my bet of the day. We will have our Tuesday night bet of the day picks. And we will wrap up the show. We will also preview tomorrow, which will be a very good time. That's coming up next here on 1620 The Zone.
And you know why I'm laughing, don't you? Now, it's time for the Unsportsmanlike Conduct Bet of the Day.
Just a little bit under where some folks would like to see this one wind up.
Brought to you by Elite Sportsbook. Visit them at elitesportsbook.com. Oh, also available only in Iowa.
All right. Robbie, who is not here today, He had Creighton -5.5. They did not cover. They did win. And because of that, I won my bet of the day as I had them in the Bucks in a cross sport parlay. So I'm now negative $355. Nick is now negative $258 because the Bucks also won, and that was his lone bet of the day. Woo! Nick, you are on quite the tear. This is what happens.
Sure am.
This is what happens when you pick huge money line favorites, and so congratulations to you. I will continue to just do the path that I've been on, which might result in me losing. Anthony Davis back for the Lakers tonight. They're playing the Knicks. Give me the Lakers plus the 5 at MSG. That game tips off very shortly. Nick.
Wow, you're not going to pick the Knicks?
Bing bong. Sadly, no.
I want Ball State on the money line -220 only because I love that name.
What sport is this? Is this football?
Yeah.
They play Buffalo.
Yes.
Yeah. Ball State. What are they on the money line?
-220. And their name's Ball State.
It is named Ball State. That's the bet of the day.
Brought to you
by
Elite
Sportsbook.
Available only
in
Iowa, the best state.
Speaking of Iowa, we appreciate everybody who has donated money for the 4 Milt Fund, I guess is what we could call it. We are up to almost $5,000 on the GoFundMe. It is benefiting Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska. We really appreciate Todd and Troy Munson for joining us earlier. If you missed that, one of the cooler / more fun, more unique interviews that we have done. They jointly wrote an obituary for their late father who passed away a week ago. We talked about him. We talked about his life. We talked about them growing up, and also the money that we have been raising for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska, and also of the money that we've been putting together to wager on Nebraska to beat Iowa outright. Stop sending me money in my Venmo, but we're over $1,300 in there.
Jeez.
So we are now above $6,000 total. We would love to get over $5,000 on the GoFundMe tonight going into tomorrow. We don't know if Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Nebraska knows about this yet.
I just want them to get it without any context or clue.
Just being like, what in the world?
So I guess.
Yeah, I look forward to them finding out. So more information can be found, really just go to my Twitter page. It's now pinned at Josh Tweederson. We've been retweeting a bunch of stuff over the last 24 hours or so. So you can go find it there. When we return tomorrow, it will be the last show of the week, of course, with Thanksgiving coming up this year on a Thursday. Very unique. So only a 3-day week. And we're going to be at ACX Cinema 12 Plus out in Elkhorn, 6200 South 205th Street in Elkhorn. Stop by, say hello. We are going to be, where will we be at tomorrow, Nick?
We will be in like the dining area. There's the bar, then there's the dining area kind of next to that.
Perfect.
You'll see us right when you walk in.
Come by, say hello, get a drink, get some food.
There's an arcade in there.
You can see a movie afterwards if you want.
The 70-foot screen.
How about this? House of Gucci tickets are available for tomorrow night. I'm going to see that on Thanksgiving. But you can see that tomorrow. Oh, wow, it's actually available tonight as well. That's awesome. King Richard is being shown.
I think I want to see Spider-Man there, honestly.
There you go. Spider-Man, there's that doesn't come out until Christmas time, but
I know.
You can I was just letting the friends of the program know. But yeah, come by. We would love to see you and celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. It'll be a 1 beer Wednesday for us. That's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
I'm making an executive decision. 1 beer Wednesday. I'm going to have a beer at 4:45 tomorrow in the happy hour.
Can I have one too?
I would love for you to have one.
Oh, hell yeah.
John will be back. Probably do keys to the game for the Iowa game. Be weird. I don't know. Logan Smothers, run, pass. Other stuff too.
Win.
There you go. But we appreciate everybody joining us today. And thank you for watching on 1620 The Zone TV on YouTube. For Nick, for Jack, for Sip, I'm Josh. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Goodbye.